We are live. Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, here with another episode of my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
Yo, Lano, turn me up. Listen. We pushing it to the edge today, but we made it.
Headphone volume up, Lano. Let's get the headphone volume
y'all ready.
up. Absolutely, guys.
There we go.
There we are. Guys, I'm excited about this show here today because we have put together something that's going to be extremely fun, very polarizing. And I know a lot of people, they saw that thumbnail that we put together.
Oh my goodness, that was crazy.
And they were calling BS on that thumbnail. They said, there's no way that y'all don't found a 32-year-old version to come up on the show. But yes, we have done it. So it's going to be a great show here to guys.
We had to search long and hard, though. We had to search because it's not many of y'all.
Yeah, it's like,
let's be real.
Like trying to find a damn Loch Ness monster or something in today's culture to find a version. See, Camden don't like that. She don't like us.
She looking like these guys.
She don't like us.
Virgins out here, okay?
Oh,
okay. She represents for the virgin.
Oh no, I'm not saying that I'm one. I'm saying they're out here.
She's a fraud. I mean, she's a fraud.
There's few and far between.
Hey, so look, we're gonna get into it because y'all today we've actually this young lady is someone that you guys have asked for quite a bit. This young lady here is a purity coach, and impressively enough, the 32-year-old version was, if that wasn't hard enough to believe, talk about a young lady here who's been abstinent now for 14 years and counting.
Wow.
Okay, 14. My abstinence is a teenager. What? Crazy, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, preteen.
I mean, you told me that, and I was kind of like,
try to call Cat.
But as she continued to explain, why and some different things that she does to reinforce it, which we'll get into, I said, you know what, we had to get you on the show because it's going to be phenomenal. And she called in a favor for this brother right here. We have our brother Dozier here on Hardly Initiated, and he's going to be breaking down how he was able to maintain this pure life, 32 years on this earth. That's a virgin.
Yeah,
trying, bro.
Wow.
I want to hear from the chat. Do these two individuals look like they are not sexually active? Just put your opinion. Just drop a yes or no in the chat. Do they look abstinent and virgin?
Right, because I think we do have as a culture, we do have like this look, like we think we have this look of like what a virgin is.
Yep.
And this brother definitely does not fit the criteria for what we would think a virgin is.
Look like one of those womanizers. One of those players.
Yeah, look like one of those players.
I've been called it plenty of times, so we here. Y'all ain't lying.
Yeah. So listen, what we're gonna do is let's actually go in and get in some announcements for the people, and what we will do is we will then get into the show.
Okay, let me see what we got. So, guys, listen, we got a bunch of new stuff on the way, but I'm gonna just cut short to the most important stuff because tonight we are still raising money, guys. We're still raising money to get the studio treatment. We literally had our third consultation.
Yeah.
We finally secured a date for installation, and we also secured the final quote. Now, I got some good news and some bad news. I guess the good news is that we still gonna get the sound treatment. The bad news is that we actually have to raise, what was it, like $6,000?
Yeah, it was just over 6,000. I think it was like right at like 6,250 is where the quote came out. And so the last bust at 3,500 that dude wasn't legit. Yeah. I don't know if any of you have worked with contractors. Those are like not the easiest guys to work with, but we got a legit one. And it's coming with some legit prices.
And it's going to look good. It's going to have the branding. It's going to have the logo. It's going to have the nice LED lights on it. So it's going to be pretty sick. But this is the thing, guys. We're still doing good. We had about 4,000. So we only got a couple more thousand, pretty much, 2,250.
Yeah.
And shout out to everybody who's been showing love on Cash App and PayPal. But please, I know y'all got a bunch of questions. So let's get the super chats rolling tonight. And of course, anything at $10 or above will actually be read live on air. And guys, just do me this quick favor because we this close to getting that email list popping. So I'm gonna drop a link in the chat. Just go ahead, give us your name, email, and phone number so we can start contacting you as soon as we get these emails rolling because we want to keep you guys abreast of all the wonderful things that we're doing.
Yeah, so let's get into the conversation, y'all, because
let's go.
I'm actually excited about this because I've met a lot of quote unquote celibate women in my dating tenure. And it's always so interesting when a woman tells me she's celibate because now at this point in my life, when she tells me she's celibate, I just generally don't believe it. I think celibate for most women mean that don't have a guy that I currently am comfortably having sex with. Like that, they call that celibate. Like I don't have somebody I want to have sex
That's a
with,
fact.
but as soon as he comes, I'm no longer celibate, A, or B, I have been giving my body away to guys who are so toxic
Mhm.
for so long that I'm just shutting the box off altogether.
Okay.
And
Locked down.
it's like but it's still like a little detox. It's like not really, But see, I want to better even understand what it is, first of all, because I think we throw words out. We throw abstinent out, we throw celibate out,
Mhm.
we throw virgin out. Let's start with abstinent and celibacy. Let's start there.
Yeah.
First of all, what's the difference? Is that the same word? What's the difference? What is that?
It really depends on the crowd that you ask. I think we've adopted the word celibate to mean the same thing as abstinence. Abstinence actually means you are not sexually active,
Okay.
right? Celibacy means you do not plan to be sexually active. You've got kind of like dedicated your life to not becoming sexually active, which most people don't absolutely mean. They mean they want to have sex at some point. They want to have sex, and in the environment I'm in, which is a faith-based environment, it's more so I want to stay non-sexual until marriage. And so they're trying to describe abstinence, but they're saying celibate. Those terms are interchangeable, but they're not supposed to be. Kind of from a language standpoint, they mean two totally different things. So I always encourage people, don't say celibate, because what you really mean is abstinence. And don't nobody want to be abstinent forever. I don't think the Lord intended us to be abstinent forever, unless he specifically called you to that lifestyle. But I don't feel personally called to the lifestyle of abstinence forever. And most people don't.
Okay, so this is like a means to an end.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as we get the ring, we done. What you mean?
Okay.
We going to the opposite direction.
What is the opposite of abstinence?
That means just
On the
very
popping.
sexually active.
For the
Got it.
streets.
For the streets, on and popping.
I like that.
Okay, and just so people can kind of get context, you personally, like, what motivated you to say, okay, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm becoming abstinent.
Yeah, that's I think many people have a complex sexual history. Everyone's sexual history is different. For me, I was raised in the Kojic Church of God in Christ. Shout out. And so I was raised to not have sex before marriage. And I internalized that element because I took my faith very seriously on a whole. As a young age, I was like, it's me and the Lord. I don't know exactly what the beginning point for that intentionality was, but I know I had a really rich upbringing in the Church of God in Christ. And I was taught very sound teaching that didn't make me feel oppressed in faith. I know a lot of people feel oppressed in faith. It's like, oh, this is the white man's religion. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just want to oppress women. They don't want you to wear nothing. They don't want you to be loud, whatever. They don't want you to have a voice. And I had a very healthy Christian upbringing. But it included the aspect of saving the sexual activities for your husband. And so that particular pressure was kind of added from my spiritual upbringing. And then I just agreed with it. I thought it was a good idea. But to be fair, I was apprehensive about men from the beginning. I thought I experienced a lot of perversion in my life that I saw from men, even if I didn't experience.
Wow.
And so I was already kind of like, I'm really not wanting to be sexual. Like at a young age, I didn't want to be sexual. It wasn't a desire of mine to like have a boyfriend at a young age. I actually was like, I don't want a boyfriend until maybe I got like 16 or 17. And then I was like, okay, maybe I need a boyfriend. But it took me a while to kind of get into what everyone else was already doing. I was never like, even to this day, you ain't gonna catch me with the latest iPhone. I'm gonna be a few iPhones behind, because for me, I need to think conscientiously about what am I actually aligning myself with? What am I signing myself up for? And is it beneficial to me? And I felt like I took my sexual experience the same way. I wanted to make sure, because once you check that box, it's not as simple as unchecking it. Right?
Some people think that's possible.
Yeah, it's not that simple. So the inspiration first, to answer your question, was because I had a rich Christian upbringing that said, hey, this is actually a sacred experience that should be exclusive to your husband. But I wasn't always perfect. I didn't always follow that. I had a lot of perverted moments. I had a lot of moments I was overwhelmed by lust and arousal, because I'm just a human being like everybody else. So I didn't necessarily wait to have any sexual experience. I ended up having my initial sexual experiences with my cousin who was a woman. And that actually had me like turned in the direction of like, okay, do I actually like women instead of men? So I was all confused.
Wow.
Wait, can we get some detail on
You
that?
want to start? You want to park there for a
It was
second?
a sexual, like, so yes, I just really want to just be very clear about what the sexual experience was.
Yeah. So it wasn't it wasn't my blood cousin. It was a cousin through marriage. And we used to have girls always have sleepovers.
Right.
Like that was our life. Like we had sleepovers all the time. And so it was someone that was related to my grandmother's people. And we were close. We were friends growing up. We were kind of like had a sisterly relationship. And she kind of introduced me to the sexual aspect of like touching each other during one of our sleepovers. And so from that point, that was really like the first, I feel like, sexual experience that was not aggressive. Like when I was in junior high, boys would like grab me in places. So it wasn't my first sexual experience, but it was my first gentle sexual experience. So I think what that did for me was like, first of all, I know sex in general is like, I don't desire to go this route. I want to save myself until marriage. And then that was even more confusing because I was like, what are the affections that I'm having and are they even right inside? After that experience, I was like, I kind of just, because of my faith, I was like, yeah, I'm never going to live a life where I'm going to be in partnership romantically with a woman. Like never. It's just not going to happen. I refuse it. I rebuke it. And so I would just, that situation amped up my prayer life like crazy. I was under the age of 13 praying like an old lady in her 80s. You know what I'm saying? Because who had experienced life. I was under 13 with a very avid, consistent prayer life. Like, Lord, make me right. Like, I don't want to be any way different than you want me to be. And then I just rejected the lifestyle. Honestly, I was just like, I don't see that for myself. So after that, I kind of was confused about my affections. I went through high school and I loved guys. I found my love for guys again. And then I had my first sexual experience where I lost my virginity with a guy that I was dating at the time. And it was a relatively pleasant experience. It wasn't like I was fiending for more. It was like the first time I had ever experienced sex, and it was cool, but I hated the fact that I didn't reserve that part of myself for marriage because that was what I was taught, and that was what I had lined my values with, and I wanted to do that.
So you had instant regret.
Instant regret. Okay. I was like, where were you in the world when you let that happen? Like how, right? So I had instant regret, and honestly, I was scared to death. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever, like, if you could just think back to the first time, it may have been an element of excitement for you, but also you're kind of fearful. Like, you're like, okay, what is this going to lead to next? As a woman, I felt very fearful.
I think it probably is different for men than women.
He's like, I didn't feel that. Okay.
Because you had unprotected sex.
We had unprotected sex, so I didn't know if we would get pregnant, right? I'm the one who get pregnant. Y'all don't.
No, that's fearful.
Right.
No, that's a fear for men.
Yeah,
that's a fear for men.
For sure.
Okay. Well, so for me, I was like, one, I'm like a good Christian girl. What it gonna look like if I show up pregnant?
Yeah.
That's a real thing because usually y'all get to continue playing on the keys while the woman is sat down from the choir.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so for me, I was like, what is that gonna look like in my life? Do I want and I absolutely didn't want the responsibility of that because I was, I was pretty young myself, but I was still an adult. My first sexual experience was 24. So I was an adult in college. I was dating a person. Most people would consider it fine. For me, I knew I had a holy conviction inside of me that said, absolutely not, sis.
How many women do you think, just on a percentage level, if you just had to throw it out there, how many women you think regret their initial sexual experience?
A lot of them. If I had to give a percentage, I would say 70%.
Damn.
A lot. Because one, we glorify sex so much on TV. Like, it's like, like, you know what I'm saying? Right. You hear the music in the background.
Play the harp love. I don't know. That's what we think it is right here.
I'm gonna drop a poll on that too.
Right. No shade to Love and Basketball and all the classics, right? I watch them too. But it's like we create this image of like it being so like loving, and it's you just want to have sex. You don't know if you love the person. You haven't even thought that far yet, whether you love the person. You don't even know what love really is in the beginning when you are filled with like all of this attraction for the person. You just know they make you aroused and you want to have sex. You want to start kissing. You want to start touching and have sex, but it has really nothing to do with love. A lot of it is based on attraction and lust.
Yes.
Which we don't know how to differentiate at an early age. We really don't. It takes us actually a long time to differentiate. You got people in marriages right now based on lust and attraction and not compatibility. So I feel like I regretted it instantly. And I said I would never do it again. I told the Lord, and it wasn't like, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, like this movies where you're like, I promised the Lord, you know, after the walk of shame, I promise God I will never do this again. Right. Like it was a little less dramatic. But I said, I didn't enjoy it. I don't like being fearful of STDs and pregnancies. I don't like the uncertainty of having sex with someone I don't know all that well. We're not together to this day. Right. So it's like, why? Like, I don't want to have a stressful life. I actually feel like Black women in particularly need to take a lot less of the stress off of their lives. So for me, I was like, this is not really the life I want. And I actually want someone who's willing to take on the responsibility of me as a person and as a wife in order to receive any part of my body. So I just realigned myself with what I always held true as a value and decided I was never going to do it again.
I like that attitude. Real quick before you get started, I want to go ahead. I dropped a poll because that just had me very curious. So this is ladies only. Okay. Yeah. How was your very first sexual experience? So these are the options we got. We got regrettable, pleasant, confusing, or traumatic. And right now we got 100 votes in. Right now it's looking real regrettable up in there. Yeah.
And you know, if you poll men, I feel like it'll be absolutely. So
me personally, I was 16, and it was this young lady that lived in the back of my neighborhood, and I just remember like walking through the woods to like sneak to her spot, going to the back. She lived on the bottom floor, sneaking through the window. And I remember when it was I didn't know what I was doing. I was relatively doing like just push-ups for real, but I was so excited.
Wow!
I made it to the finish line, so to speak. And I remember I'm like, you know what? I don't care who see me. I'm not gonna walk back through the shortcut. I took the long way home, and the whole time I was stinky because you know you had that sex smell on you. Yeah. I was stinky, but it was like, man, I felt like I became a man.
You feel very empowered.
It was very empowering. It was like the best thing, and I just remember just all I could think about was finally I could stop lying.
Yeah.
Now, is it was that the feeling that you had while you were doing it, or was that what it did to your ego?
When I was doing, I was just very confused. I didn't know where to put it. I didn't know how to move. And the whole time I just felt like I was about to nut the whole time. Like before we started having sex. And it was this level of nervousness. Like I know because I think he's cracking up. It was a level of nervousness
we gotta get the medical terms on Ryan.
Welcome to Hardly Initiated.
Orgasm.
Yes. I was about to orgasm. And the thing is, I remember thinking, I know this is not pleasant for her. I knew it wasn't.
Really?
Because I knew because I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. And from what I, neighborhood politics or word on the street, she was experienced. So I knew, and then I'm not gonna get into it, but I knew it couldn't have been pleasant on her end. But we was just doing it. And even though I knew that, I still felt so satisfied about it. But it was less about the actual sexual pleasure. It was actually nothing to do with the actual sexual pleasure. It was more of the societal and the neighborhood pressure. Because everybody is talking about sex. Everybody is doing it. You're the only one not doing it. And I'm telling everybody just getting into the club. So that was, now that I think about it, I guess that's kind of traumatic on my end too. Yeah.
And women are very emotionally drawn to what I can say about my first time. It was pleasant, not even because of the feeling, because of the closeness that you have with the person. It's literally like no separation between your body and the other person's body. So actually, a lot of the pleasure came from closeness. It came from like the aspect of like, no one's ever been this close to me before, like heart against heart type of thing. And I feel like for a person who grew up in a maybe in a different environment of like supercharged with affection, maybe that's not a thing. But I feel like mothers feel that with their babies. I feel like there's an element to that type of physical engagement that's not supposed to be with the girl down the street or with the guy who you're just dating for a couple months who you barely know. You know what I'm saying? Or before you know yourself, you know what I mean? And before you don't need that affirmation from an environment, from a dysfunctional environment, a dysfunctional fatherless environment, I feel like you need to figure out who it is that you are and what you actually believe that you should be doing outside of that before you start playing with sex. But most people don't. They
Absolutely not.
most often have a lot of sexual experience before they even figure those two things out.
I mean, most
I
people,
agree.
if you talk about people having sex before they know who they are, you talk about you go back to that marriage part, right? Most people are in marriages and they don't know
Right.
who they are.
For sure.
So,
So
like
at
for
16, 15,
six-
14,
when we starting to have and the
Yeah.
sexual ages are starting to happen younger and younger.
early.
Again, you're doing it for mostly ego purposes,
Yeah.
mostly to be socially accepted.
Yeah.
You know, not to become one or real anything with any level of substance
Sure.
is the reason we're having sex. As a matter of fact,
Even when I think about my particular situation, I can go back and think about it. The young lady was extremely distressed. Like I can
Mhm.
look at why she was likely having sex with a bunch of guys or allegedly a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
She had this broken home. She had this overwhelmed mother. It was 6 freaking kids living in the house. You know what I mean? And not even think about her personality. It was like her brothers and sisters was bad as hell. And she was always kind of aloof and
Mhm.
like upset about something,
Yeah.
and always wanted to be outside. That was her thing. Always wanted to be
oh
outside.
my God, I know that girl.
Right. So when I even think about it, it's regrettable for me because now as a mature male, I'm like, man, I unknowingly, right, I really took advantage of that young lady going through all these different issues. Not only did she not know herself, right, I'm sure did not know how to process all of the emotions and inner workings that's going on because
Yeah.
of her upbringing.
Lionel, cue her. We're gonna find Ryan's first love. Hey, she's gonna be the next guest on the show, y'all.
She's
Yeah.
probably out here killing the
figure that
game,
one.
an amazing person doing something totally different.
That's hopeful. But let's actually
Facts.
I want to go to this brother here because this brother got a bit of a different story.
Right.
He's actually never had sex, y'all. This brother has never had sex, 32 years on earth,
Yeah.
and is completely still a virgin. It's funny because I called him this morning to kind of prep him for, make sure he know how to get here and everything. And I thought he was abstinent. I didn't know he was a virgin. When that brother dropped that he was a virgin on here, you should have saw my face on the phone, y'all.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I
He
ever
was like
spoke
this.
to
He
a
was
brother.
And I'm like,
I did. In the middle of he was talking and I stopped.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Me and Delano dapping each other up like we about to go crazy.
Yeah, we
tonight.
about to-
It's about to be hell of an
Because I'm
episode.
like, we found it's like we found a leprechaun for the episode tonight.
Right.
So I want to talk about that because first of all, y'all see the brother. The brother, first of all, they in here. So some people in here talking about this brother look like Derek Jackson.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with
But y'all
that.
see, no, right.
He a good looking brother.
He's a
I
good-
assume if he looked like me, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's my
Yeah,
point.
that's-
The brother's good looking. I mean, you spent some time in the NFL.
yeah.
That
like,
means you were like a well-respected athlete. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you didn't have to be in the seat
right.
of virginity.
It's not
Yeah.
it's voluntary.
This is voluntary
Right.
Yeah.
for you to be in the seat. If you can, kind of tell us how you got here, let the people understand because this is kind of wild.
That's fair. That's fair. And to be honest, of course, most people don't believe me. Like, well, most shorties when I meet them initially don't believe me. But when I was younger, I was really shy. And so the shyness kind of kept me away from, crossing lines with shorties or whatever. But so I initially said it as a lie. Like my homies would be like, yo, what's up? Like, are you about to do whatever? I'm like, bro, I'm waiting till marriage just to get them off my back. I just need to build up a little bit of confidence. And as time got older, I'm in high school or whatever. I keep saying that to just kind of get them off my back. Like, yo, I'm good. And what happened was in high school, when situations actually came where I was like, all right, I'm okay. If a shorty ever like invited me to the crib or something was going to go on, some weird freak accident would happen. No cap. Like I could think of a story where in my latter years of high school, there was like a party. Everybody's going to some shorty's crib, right? I'm not going to say nothing about the shorty on this joint, but everybody's going to this shorty's crib, right? And it's one of them parties where, like it was one of those parties where I didn't know this and they didn't plan this, but the last few dudes who were virgins, they lost it that night. You feel me? Everybody took a room. It was one of those parties.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I didn't know this. I'm pulling up and I'm like, yo, I'm going to this party. It's close to my crib. I'm going to this party. Like I'm set. I was like, I'm a miss practice. I'm gonna go to this party. So everybody else miss practice. They went. In the last second, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to practice because it was football practice. I'm gonna go to football practice. I remember my bus ended up coming like 2-3 hours late. This is a school bus. How do you come through 2-3 hours late? Like, that's not even allowed. I ended up getting in the bus. It took me home. I fell asleep, missed my drop off for the party. Woke up at my crib, in front of my crib, turned around, started walking to the party. I was about to walk like 2 miles to this party. Halfway through the walk, I was like, you know what? Something ain't right. I just went back home. The next day, everybody's like, bruh, guess what happened? Everybody, this person lost this person lost that. And so things like that will happen. And so when I got saved at 18, that's when I realized, I was like, oh, God don't want me having sex. He want me to wait till marriage. And it's funny, when I got saved, I was actually upset because I was like, the shorties was really feeling me. And I was just kind of really like, I was confident, I was whatever. And so I got saved and I realized, like, oh, God want me to wait till marriage. Like, this don't suck. It's going to suck. And that's really what happened. So it was more like I knew I had to. And I also knew that if I was going to be out here, I was going to be out here. I'm always that person, like, if I'm a sin, I'm going to make it count. Like, what we doing?
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, I'm not going to half step. So I was very aware of who I was as a person. So I knew I had to stay in my lane. And so that's how it started.
So 18 years, you got saved. And here's the thing, though. You play college football.
Play college football.
You went to the NFL for a little bit.
Right.
So you with the Wolfpack.
And even you with the Wolfpack. And even
Right.
up until then, even up until now, you maintained your. What's been that thing to keep you grounded and maintain that? I mean, is it because of you? Do you always think back to the fact that you got saved, or these freak accidents just happening on a daily basis at this point?
Nah, at this point, I'm older. Like, it's funny. Like, at this point, I tell people I'm a virgin, but it's not even sweet no more. It's not even pretty. Like, there was a time where I was really like, I never did nothing. I was good as an adult too. And then in the last 3-4 years, like, I've got more close calls than I can count. Like, I can't even add them up. I've been in a lot of heated situations, and it's the point where I meet shorties and they're like, you lying. And then we get to like maybe mess around, or we get close and I don't go, and they're like, yo, you really not gonna? I'm like, nah, I'm really not. And they're like, how do you do this? And I'm like, to be honest, I think it's a miracle from God, because I don't know. Like, I don't see how I've gotten so many tight situations. I've gotten so close. And all I can think of is, at the moment, I'm like, nah, I can't do this. Like, not before God, like, not before God. I come so far, and I'm just like, yo, at the end of the day, I'm not going to ruin what God told me I got to do. And so really, it's really my purpose in my head. I think, like, yo, the only reason I'm doing this is to honor God for marriage. And so in my head, I'm like, if I was to have sex now, I'm still going to have to practice abstinence after again until I get married if I'm going to honor God. So what's the point at this point? Like, it really doesn't make a difference for me.
I'm curious, who pressures, or which sex or gender do you receive the most pressure from in terms of being a virgin? Is it women or is it from men? In terms
honestly,
of things they might say or
what they did,
what they might do.
Honestly, it's I think most pressure from shorties for sure.
Wow.
Because now I can say this, in college or whatever, I've always been a very confident person. So peer pressure never worked for me. So in college, of course, they're gonna make jokes, but I was with the smoke. I'm from New York. So you clown me, I'm gonna clown you. And so they would come at me and be like, you a virgin? I'm like, yeah, but I could take your girl. Let's be real. Like, if we want to talk, let's talk, And so because of that, I had that clapback. People really wasn't trying that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they really wasn't messing with me with that. So then also, I'm a football player. Nobody else has no words to say in the school besides a football team. They're the only one who could really come at my level, because we're already kings in the school.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so I didn't really have to deal with that any sort of people really coming for me. But as an adult now, and how do I put this? Real respect, real with men. Like, I could look at a man and be like, oh, he gets shorties. Dudes could look at me and be like, oh, he get girls. So there's no clowning each other here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you know how real
Right.
respect, real in the game. Like, oh,
Right.
he clearly he not struggling. So
It's
because
voluntary.
He's making a conscious decision
Exactly.
to take this walk.
you know what I mean?
This
So
brother's
because of that-
mature.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so because of that, there's no like clowning me about women or waiting till marriage or whatever. But women are, I would say, like, women will give you more heat. Like, bro, you lying, whatever. And it's funny, shorties will tell you lying so that they could like try themselves. Like, I've had shorties be like, you capping, whatever. Later on, trying to get my number and holler at me, and I'm like, sweetheart, I thought you thought I was lying. What you trying to do? You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's at this, and then also I'm older now, so when people come at me, I'm like, look, telling people I'm a virgin is not, it's not a win right here. You feel me? So if I'm lying, I mean, it's not like it's helping me out here in the streets.
So I want to ask you this too, because I think just as a man, you know, we've having sexual encounters with women and just having intimate relationships with women.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine you've had some like dangerously close calls.
Yo, I had
Like,
more,
dangerously.
more than I could count. Yo, more than I
What
could
was
count.
what was like the closest one where it really was?
Well, you want me to tell a story or
Just,
like?
I guess you could be brief and brilliant,
Okay.
but kind of just give me an idea
Brief and
of how
brilliant,
that
I like
happened.
Right,
Brief-
not nasty. That
Yeah.
wasn't, that
like
wasn't
that.
included in that.
Brief and brilliant. I like that. But what's the closest? Okay, so I say probably last year was probably the closest I ever been to where I was like, bruh, I'm about to throw this.
And this
shorty in
was
the shower.
this was a young lady you were very serious about, or this was just this was lust.
Nah, this is a shorty we were serious about.
Okay.
So let's be clear, all of this is lust. Like, I'm not married yet, so it's lust. You feel me? At the end of the day, but
Okay.
there's levels to this lust. So me and shorty were talking for a while. We were really talking for a while, and things got really hot. And it's funny how things got really hot. And she actually, there was a mutual understanding that we're waiting, right? Things got really hot, and I was like, listen, what if I was to just like go up in here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she stopped me and she was like, nah, like, I don't want to do that. I'm not ready for that. And when she said that, it snapped me into place. And I was like, dang, we're here. You feel me? And I really like, it shook me enough to where I was like, dang, like I was really about to risk all of this. And she's not even with it. If she had said yes, this would have been a different conversation right now. And so that's probably the closest I've ever been.
Wait, that wasn't that close. Hold on, wait, y'all had all y'all clothes on?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
We were-
He didn't really paint the picture.
Yeah, I
See,
didn't paint the
see,
picture.
Tyler
I
wanted
didn't-
to
I
dig.
didn't
this was
That
really
one thing.
PG.
I didn't paint the picture, but I mean, to be fair, like we were, clothes was off. Clothes was all off, and we was in a scenario. You know what I mean?
Y'all was assuming a position.
We was
Bucket
in
naked.
the position. You feel me? And
Yeah.
it was
the tip was right there.
And we need to get that Bernie Mac, that little Bernie Mac clip.
Nah, real talk, though. Nah, real talk.
Yeah.
And at that moment, she was like, nah.
And
You feel
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. At this point, that as far as you've made it, you will be, I think, one of in the exclusive club of brothers that probably will feel regret afterwards, just because
sure.
you have a different mission and purpose behind your sex. I think,
Absolutely.
you know, most guys, and I talk about this too, because a lot of guys, women tend to catch a lot of guys in their warrior phase, not necessarily in the king phase. And in the
Right.
warrior phase, a man's goal is just to conquer.
Absolutely.
He's trying to conquer everything around him, including women. So women at that point are just trinkets. It's a part of his ego. He's hunting. Women are literally the deer heads on the wall that
Total-
he tells stories
right.
about.
Total and absolute objectification.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And whereas when a man is in the king phase, now he's looking to expand his reign. He's looking to build, right? He's looking to expand. He's looking to partner. And that's a different mindset that he has about a woman and his intention with a woman, and even his intention with sex.
Right.
You know, like even the way you look at sex is a lot different. So I'm actually happy that didn't happen, because it's like brother, you in the playoffs right now. You
Would've
gotta
been
keep
bad.
your head
It
tight.
would've been bad. And also, like the way my mindset was too back then, especially the way I saw things was just like, for instance, even though I was a virgin, if I ever got close with a woman, my brain didn't be like, oh, I want to be back and get close with her again. My brain was like, oh, who's the next one? And so that's the way I thought. So I could think, I always knew if I was to start having sex, oh, we not.
Wait, I want to get some clarity on that. So
Right.
you saying whenever it was at the point where you knew
Right.
you had the ability to have sex with them, you lost interest afterwards?
No. I'm
Oh,
not saying
okay,
that.
okay,
No, I'm
okay,
not saying
okay.
that. I'm saying like, if I ever was to get really close to a girl where like, yo, clothes is off or whatever, and we're in a situation, right? The next day, my brain is not like, yo, I want to do this again with her. My brain is like, oh, who's the next girl I could do this with? So that's why like my brain was. So when shorties see me and they're like, yo, I think you for the streets, I'm like, I'm not far from it. Like, I'm not even mad at you. I know what you see. You actually kind of right, but I know it's God keeping me.
You know, I think you mentioned something like that. It's like once you kind of mentally come to the realization that you have the ability to take it there with a woman, sometimes you
Oh
just
yeah,
might
no.
generally-
Especially me. I've literally done that. Like
Right.
I've literally lusted women, and once I've got in the position with the women
Right.
where sex is like about to happen, that satisfied me enough for me to just pull away and just not have sex
I've done
altogether.
that too.
Which
I've done that
can
too,
piss a
yeah.
lot of women off.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that was all I needed. It was like, but see, that's very a warrior phase-ish.
Right.
Mm.
Like that shows that I I conquered you.
Right.
Like
You
that
can.
was my checkmate for
Mhm.
you.
It's
I
like
conquered
you
you
had the
with
sword on the neck type of
yeah,
deal.
exactly. But I let you live. I just moved my sword away.
But I'm glad the women
Walk
get
away.
an inside look
Oh yeah.
at like the mind, because sometimes women are not aware. They're thinking like everything's going great,
Right.
we're
That's
doing
true.
good, like, and we want to take it to the next level by doing X. And then some women are just like, I have needs too. So every woman is not the same, but I think a large majority of women are thinking that um the sex is going to be something that is helpful and not, because who wants to be a notch on someone else's, you know what I'm saying? Like who makes a conscientious decision to say, I actually would like to be conquered and then discarded. I don't
Yeah.
feel
Facts.
that is like that's not the thought process that we often go to, especially if we really actually like the guy. Now there are times when you go and you just do reckless things because you want to do a reckless thing,
Mhm.
right? You
Right.
don't see any potential with the person. You might even not like the guy. You might think the guy's not even attractive, and because you are broken inside, like you described with homegirl that kind of you had some history with, because you're broken inside, you don't care. You're just like, I feel like being reckless today. So whoever I see, whoever is in my vicinity, I can be reckless with them. It's just really detrimental sexually, because I feel like sex is it's a one of a kind experience. Like I don't think you can get the same types of satisfaction that you get from sex from anything else. I also don't think that you can get the same kind of bonding from a physical and a spiritual aspect from anything else than you can get with sex. I think like God intentionally created sex to be like this amazing thing.
You know what? So with that being said, let me actually ask you this question, because it's a lot of debate
Mm-hmm.
whether or not it's okay for, and I want to isolate it to women right now, because women are saying, yes, I can be a woman and I can be absolutely healthy and I can have sex
Mm-hmm.
and really it not mean anything, just like men can. I can have this emotionless sex.
Yeah.
Would you consider that healthy?
I think that there are few women who can do that.
And
I
it
think-
and it be healthy. Now,
Oh no,
healthy is the key word.
It's never healthy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there are women, if we're going to kind of go down the route, there are women who have matched their behavior with their mentality in the way that I'm gonna get what I can get through this thing that I'm using to get it. I mean, it's the whole city girl. I mean, it's we have a whole culture established
Oh
from
yeah.
from like I have sex freely. I'm a woman. I get in where I fit in. Don't we have someone now with like
Sexy
a
red.
with like a line of like tasty
Yeah.
sexual product? Like, what is the benefit? You see what I'm saying? Like the benefit, the gain for women is usually money. Number one, that's why prostitution even exists, right?
True.
But there are a group of women who are like, I'm just free within myself. Like I'm in touch with my sexuality, and when I want it, I get it. One, I don't think that that's we have this conversation about masculine and feminine energy. I wouldn't necessarily put it in masculine, feminine terms, because I kind of read the Bible. For me, it's like woman, man. It's like one that's male energy. Like that you're giving when you're like, I don't care. I'm free with my sexuality, and like you don't really need, you want to lead and you want to have that warrior conquering.
She's a female warrior.
Yeah, that's fine. But
She a
one,
savage. That's what she is.
You want to? You talking about
Yeah.
a man not caring about you? Did you
Right.
say that?
and you can go
No.
through, you can run through men the same way you guys are describing running through women.
Oh, they do.
Women can run through men the same way. Is it healthy? It never is. But my thing is that a large majority of women cannot do that and not have it have a huge effect on their mental and their emotional and their physical. Because one, we live in a culture where people think differently about a woman having a high body count than a man having a high body count.
So,
Right.
Canden, are you saying that it's more important for women to be celibate than men?
I'm not.
Okay.
What I'm saying is it affects women differently than it affects men.
How so? Let's talk about that.
It affects women in the way that they are emotionally thinking that it doesn't affect them. I feel like men are a little bit more practical in nature, and that they can come to a place where they say, yeah, this is
Not that life.
Yeah, I'm doing this for all the wrong reasons. I know I'm wrong doing it. I'm still
Right.
going to do it,
Right.
right? Like, I feel like women kind of kid themselves a little bit into thinking like this is a good idea. And then before they know it, they're in over their heads. It's like you are not emotionally or physically built to be ran through. No one is. Like even the concept of being run through, like we have these pornos that we watch where people are having sex repeatedly. Those porn actors have to be on drugs. Like 90% of them are high when they are doing this. And if you choose this as a lifestyle to just have sex freely with whomever, whenever, there's a part of you spiritually that is kind of shrinking and dying because you've made kind of the physical aspect of things priority. And anytime we do that, think about obesity. Anytime we make something physical more important than the inside or the spiritual aspect of ourselves, things get reckless. You get obese, you get sick, you start because you're overindulging on something that you were either was meant to be segmented off into a specific time, a context, or you are self-sabotaging, like you want to die, like you don't care about yourself. Like a lot of women have histories where they were introduced to sex really young, and men too. Let's just be honest. A lot of men have actually been sexually assaulted and they think it's just regular. They think, oh, I just had sex at a young age.
That's very true.
You was 12 and Shorty was 16.
She was fondling you.
Right.
She was
And she was your
Yeah.
babysitter.
Right.
And now you think you lost your virginity when really you were raped. You were taken advantage of.
Like that.
But you take but that's a part of what you take. That's like a notch on your belt.
When I was 12, she was 17.
Yeah.
Because you're cultured that way, but
Right.
not
Yes.
because it's good for your spirit or because it's good for your body or it's good for your purpose. Because eventually, let's just say when you finish being a warrior and you actually want to settle down into kingship with your queen, everything that you did before that matters.
Oh, you still got blood on your hands.
Yeah.
Everything.
You still got blood. Yeah.
Then you can meet Jesus and he will make you new, but he doesn't remove consequences when he makes you new. There are still things that you did that will follow you and they will affect you to the extent that you allow them to. And so you will have to be renewed and regenerated in your mind and in your body in order to move forward after you deciding you want a warrior face. And why do you even want a warrior face, to be honest?
And it's, you know what, a lot of that's a really good point, because
Ooh, that's a good question.
A lot of we use sex as a way to prove to ourselves as men that we are who we say we are.
That's true. That's a fact.
So like we like I remember, funny enough, I actually heard Kevin Samuel say this. This was actually one of my favorite quotes. He said, "Men, you can't conquer the world with your dick." That's actually what he said one time. And that was so true, because that's what a lot of men try to do. He said that, that you try to prove to yourself that you're this guy that can, at the end of the day, women are just so important to men. And to be able to attract a woman and to be able to penetrate a woman is like a measuring stick that a man can use for who he is as a man. And when a man can't do that, and especially a man who doesn't all the way know who he is, he will feel less than a man. Absolutely. So again, it's still an identity crisis. Because going back to what you were saying, if you don't know who you are, you will use women to help find that.
And women do the same thing. You know how they do it? If I can seduce you, that's a notch on my belt, right? And even Christian, from a standpoint of someone who's not having sex, there has been times when I wanted the man to want to have sex with me, even though I wasn't gonna do it, right? Yeah. It's this thing of like, where are you finding your value, your worth, and your identity? Like you said, an identity crisis. It's like, am I pretty enough to pull? Am I desirable enough? Because men usually, you guys had pinpointed it before we were on live. Men value respect, right? So they're getting their gratification from like, oh, I'm going to be respected because I'm pulling her and her and her. And women are like, well, I can break down him and him and him.
Oh yeah,
I can break them down. So I'm getting my value now from my effect on other people, which is a really dangerous thing because you actually begin to objectify yourself. No one else Like no man has to come and objectify me and say I'm a notch on his belt, because I've made myself one, and I've actually found my identity there. Like, because I can break him down sexually. Like, what does that matter? Men have sex with women all the time. They don't marry, they don't value, they don't plan on spending the rest of their life with. Like, that is a thing that I feel like the enemy has allowed us to take that on. Like, I'm attractive, I'm sexy, like I can get the person, like the person wants me. That has begun to take the place of your real value, like who you really are. Like when everything is away from you, right? And you are far removed from everyone else. Like, who are you? Like that's an important thing, because it's not hard to get someone to have sex with you.
Right.
It's just not hard. Like
people.
Well, some women take that as a challenge. I think Roger Allen Curry, who wrote Mode 1, which is a book I think all men should read, but he called them attention whores. It's basically these women, you go out, they give you a bunch of attention, give you a bunch of conversation, but then when you try to advance the relationship with the contact number or one of these things, they just like, no. Mm-hmm. And they go straight to shutting you down. Or you have these other women who take it to a higher level, where they will try to access a man that they feel is at a certain level, and they will command his attention until it gets to the point where that man is now showcasing interest, and then they'll just cut him off because they want to experiment to see if I can hold the attention of this man who I see at this particular level.
And we want to change the power dynamic, because we were powerless for a long time, right? Like, we were the ones who didn't have the power. It was what the men wanted. It was like, how many wives did the man have, right? Like, so now there's a power dynamic. I can break him down sexually, because that's the one weakness that you guys actually have as men. Yeah, like you could be straight on a lot of things, and that sexual thing will have you doing stuff you did not plan to do.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
And so we know that actually is. So to your question, Ron, when you said, is it more important? I think it affects women more. I think it affects them the most. But I think actually it's more important for men as the spiritual leaders to be abstinent and pure before God, not for women, but for themselves and their relationship with God. Because how is it that and I believe in submission fully. I believe there's God, there's the man, and there's the woman in the household. How is it that we are saying that women need to submit and be submissive to men who are not leading in the area of purity and abstinence, if that's what the Lord has called us to do? Then why are we saying it's okay for you guys to lead in every other area except for that? So I actually think it's far more important for men to be the example of abstinence and purity, and then for women to fall in line and say, oh, he refuses to have sex with me. That's the standard that I have to meet, so that like he refuses to objectify me. That type of man, like nothing can take him. The weakness has now been eliminated, literally.
Yeah. Right.
That's true. I mean, that's true self-mastery at the point where a man can master just his fleshly desires in general.
Yeah.
That truly is what I would define as self-mastery.
We gotta, because I know you're getting ready to get it cranking, but we gotta let the Facebook audience go.
Wow.
And we got some super chats that came in too.
Yes, Facebook. Listen, come on over to YouTube. The link is in there. Hardly Initiated on YouTube. Come join us. The chat is going crazy. They're enjoying this conversation. We got 154 people in the conversation, right? 854. And we only got 234 likes. Guys, please close down the chat real quick. Hit the like button. Please like this conversation so we can get some more pure people. We got to spread this message, y'all. That like button helps spread the message. All right,
check this out. So we had this poll open up for 33 minutes now. We got over 400 votes on the poll, okay? Ladies only, how was your first sexual experience? Regrettable, pleasant, confusing, or traumatic? And by far, overwhelming, 54% says regrettable. The next highest is 18% at pleasant. So it does seem like the first sexual experience is typically not the best one. I would imagine that.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do, right? Yo, Lano's really on point with these sounds right now.
I got you, Lano.
So real quick, shout out to Benita Jackson. BJ, we love you. And BJ, we got your message that you sent us. We really, really appreciate you.
Love you.
Shout out to Nikki as well. Shout out to Mike Check Productions and Sunshine Beauty. And listen, I'm a little upset with Dozy.
Wow, what's up?
Because the members keep complimenting this brother. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I barely could deal with them complimenting Tyshawn. I usually like to reserve all the compliments for me. But shout out to Nicole, because she just sent over a super chat. And this is a great question.
What's
What
up?
she said?
This was for Dozy. She said, would Dozy entertain a woman who is not a virgin?
For sure.
Asking for a friend, she says.
For sure. So I'll say this. I'm a virgin. I'm very aware that I'm a virgin because of cards I've been dealt in life. Some people been touched. Some people grew up some type of way. Some people didn't have the opportunity. So I absolutely would entertain a shorty as a virgin. That's not a big deal to me. My walk, the reason I'm doing this is to honor God for marriage. And so this is my walk. Your walk might be a little different. I understand that. I'm not foolish enough to be like, oh, because I live life this way, you had to live it that way. Nah, that's not the case. So I'm cool with that.
Wow.
So
Y'all think all virgins should just find other virgins? Like, what?
I mean, if I'd have been in this
like,
doing
no,
all
no.
this work
See, this
and you
is
out there in the
happening right now.
streets.
I imagine if you're a virgin, it's almost like being a vegan. Like it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset. So most likely you're gonna want somebody with a similar diet or similar palate as yourself. So I can't imagine that he would want somebody that's not to some degree sexually disciplined, if sexual discipline is something that he obviously showed as a part of his core values. So yes, she don't have to be a virgin, but she gotta have some level
sort
of
discipline. Also, I can say this though: the shorties that are virgins out here is not. Well, let me not.
Whoa!
Let me not.
Say what you gonna say, 'cause he not-
No, no,
I
yeah,
looked
yeah.
at. I
Tell
was
me
like,
about
let
the
me
tell me
think.
about the virgins.
So,
What have
Pete,
you noticed about the
I'm
virgins?
very like. Let's be real. A lot of people that are virgins, they're socially awkward in a lot of ways. You feel me? Like I'm very aware. I've been dealt. Football even me out and being from New York. I'm aware of that. But when you're a virgin, you're not privy to a lot of stuff. You move a certain way. All of this. This actually, it's not a bad thing. You just haven't been around certain things. Nobody's mad at that. But because of that, when you run into virgins out here in these streets, they're awkward. They may not know how to talk to you. They don't know how to deal with you. They just don't understand.
Is that why they really virgins?
So you saying they voluntary, they involuntary virgins.
But that's
I
different.
mean-
That's not the same. I don't think that's the same.
What you mean?
If a dude is a virgin because he's creepy and awkward
That's
and he can't get sex,
right.
that's not self-mastery.
But I think he's talking about innocence.
Yeah,
There's a certain like
I'm talking about like
to be
okay.
a virgin.
it's even when like some shorties who choose to be abstinent now. You're around them when they've been abstinent for a really long time. They're a little disconnected. It's like, hey, like I was just trying to give you a hug and you tripping. Relax. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's almost like virginity, abstinence, all of this is tied to a fear towards sex or let me be away from sex.
Yep.
And so when you fear sex, you act a certain way. So you get a lot of virgins out here that fear sex. And so it's every man's fear to be with a woman that fears sex, because imagine you like, hey, are you going to give me oral? And she's like, I think that's wrong before God. That's an issue now in your marriage. You feel me?
Major issue.
Huge issue. So you got Christians out here divorcing because they married somebody who was abstaining, but the person feared sex. So now when I like this position, well, I don't really think that honors God. Missionary not in the Bible. So where you get this from?
Well, it is.
But that's
but
what
it's-
Christian culture
okay.
says.
Wait. That's,
You already
that's
know
what
I'm
it
about to
says?
look.
No,
it's not.
She-
I agree
She not talking
with
about that.
with Dozy, like 100%. There are some socially awkward people who
Come
are
on.
abstinent.
Absolutely.
Like just because you are abstinent does not mean you don't have sexual awareness.
right.
Like
Oh,
I
okay.
work a lot with women who are fearful, but it's not, I can't say it's their fault. It's like
It's their fault.
beat into us. It's
It's their
not.
fault. You an adult.
Okay,
It's your
but
fault.
I'm just saying they're cultured to
I agree.
fear sex.
Groomed.
Like
Yeah.
don't be in the same. I know people who grew up. You can't be in the same room. Even co-ed friendships are like not even like they're a new age concept in faith-based settings.
That's true.
Like if you're
That's true.
friends with a man, it's like, oh, y'all are dating. No, people need community and friendships. Like
right.
people need brother and sisters. And I think we sexually objectify everything. It's like, oh, you have to be romantic. You have to be, listen, maybe we are, but maybe we're not. And I think that socially awkward, like, I don't want to know anything about sex. I don't think it helps us when it comes to being well-rounded to enter into marriage, being open to people's dysfunction. I also think if you fear sex as a virgin, you might be setting yourself up to have it faster, because as soon as you get a little touch, a little, like there's instances where you'll have a situation where closeness will happen, especially if you begin to get into a relationship. Like let's say you've been single for a while, right?
Yeah.
You meet somebody, you like them, you get into a relationship with them, and you guys begin to develop affection for one another on an emotional level, right? You
Right.
like his mind, you know, you like how she says things and how she can understand you, right? And then you begin to get close, and it's virginity is awesome. I believe it's holy. I believe you should stay a virgin as long as you possibly can until marriage. But I think you not allowing yourself to be human in the way to feel what you feel and still be able to resist. There's a really good scripture that says Jesus was tempted in every way that we have been, and yet he was without sin.
Right.
And so I think he was around people that were sinning all the time. And he wasn't like, well, I'm going to stay completely like, let's not talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we do with sex as people who have been raised a certain way, especially women. It's like, I'm not open to any conversation about it, when really once you get, if this person rocks with you and you get to the place where you want to get married, let's just say you get to engagement, it's going to be very tough for you to maintain abstinence and virginity if you don't have conversations around it that actually help you to keep boundaries. It's called partnership. If me and you are friends and we are trying to find out more about each other, and I don't know your struggles, I don't really know your weaknesses, I don't really know what I'm doing to really trigger you, right? Then that does me a disservice, because I could be triggering you all the time and you're silently taking those blows because you don't want to offend, or because we haven't gotten to that level in our relationship where we can have open conversation. Then you're just silently taking those blows. Then we get in a situation where it's fine, like it's okay for us to be closer, and it's really foreign. Like, it's super foreign. Also, I didn't know you struggle with X, so now I'm shocked. Like, what do you mean you struggle with porn? What do you mean you struggle with masturbation? You have a masturbation addiction, and we never talked about anything sexual, because every time sex comes up, it's like a fearful thing.
Right.
Yes.
So I do think I agree with him. I think conversation around your humanity, even as you practice abstinence and as you are a virgin, is helpful. Even if you can't do it with the actual person, with mentors and married couples. And I think we need to just kill this divide between married and single people too. Because the only way I learn as a single woman is through married people, what to expect in marriage, right?
Yeah.
So like I have a friend, and I'm gonna stop, but I could talk about this all day. Y'all know this is my subject. But real quick though, I have a friend, and he was telling me that he was kind of annoyed that no one had a sexual conversation with his wife to kind of get her, like she was not prepared at all for a long, like a marriage that is sex filled. You're not mentally, when you're not having sex, you can throw there's a certain type of person.
Hold on. Let me slow you down, because Canden be going crazy.
Yeah.
Let me organize these thoughts.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was this woman, and you're saying that she was not having a bad sexual relationship with her husband because she wasn't introduced. Sorry. So help me out.
So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm pretty sure they had a good sexual relationship for a while.
Okay. And
then in their marriage, maybe they had some hiccups, some speed bumps. Okay. I think one of the frustrating things for him in particular was that no one has conversations with women, because he's been a Christian for a long time. You know, he's been in church. No one had conversations specifically telling us kind of what we should expect, or giving us a little bit more of the insider scoop in like, hey, this is what happens, right? I don't think that you can I don't think you should know everything before you get married, but I think that the reason why we have scriptures like older women teach the younger women is so that we can learn from whatever it is that they're teaching. Pregnancy is a foreign, listen, most women before they get pregnant, we have no idea what to expect. You can read books, but no one comes alongside you before it happens and like, hey, this is actually what may happen. I think the first time I ever heard like a real live shocking conversation was, I think I was watching the reality show for Mary Mary, and one of the women on there was telling the sister, because they had a lot of sisters, you know, they have a lot of sisters. I don't remember how many there is, but there is a good amount of them. And the older sister who was married was telling the younger sister, this may hurt you really bad depending on his size. And it was shocking to me to hear that on TV. That was not a conversation that was regularly had in any space that I had ever been in before I saw it on reality TV. is what
She
I'm
was
saying.
keeping it 1,000.
Yeah, so she was having these candid conversations with divine timing, not just willy-nilly throwing stuff out to destroy people, purity, but like in mentorship and in close relationships as friends with as single people with married people, we kind of need to get that inside glimpse, which is why I love what you two do, is because we kind of get an inside glimpse to like, what is this like? What decisions should I make? And how should I be a little bit more prepared to sustain my marriage sexually? Because all I know is I'm gonna be jumping off chandeliers. I'm gonna wear lingerie every night. Sis, you're gonna be tired.
Yeah.
Right.
You ain't gonna want to have sex with him all the time. Somebody needs to sit us down and tell us that.
But I think also the main reason that happens is because of the purpose. Like, you know, people practice abstinence or celibacy for different reasons. Like you said earlier, they dealt with toxic men or they had a bad trauma past. But the real reason you're waiting till marriage is you want to honor God in marriage, right? Abstinence is just a part of it. The goal is I want to honor God. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Abstinence is just a part of it. And the reason I say that is because I want to honor God in marriage, I want to be a good husband. So obviously I'm going to fill myself with sexual understanding. I'm going to have the conversations. I'm not going to fear it. But when you fear sex, that means your goal is to be abstinent. That's your goal. So your goal is to wait till get married. You're not trying to honor God in marriage. That's your goal. So what happens is you don't really care about sex like that. You fear it until the time comes. That's why it's such a shock to people when it happens. They're like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't know about that. I don't know about this. You have Christian marriages and divorce at 50% now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
A lot of it is due to sex.
You think so? Most of it?
Actually, let's talk about this too,
course.
because, and we got some, I want to ask this right because we got to get to these super chats, but I want to ask this before we get into the super chats. What percent, because I think you did some research on this. What percentage of people was it? Did you have a percentage that were virgins?
I don't know the exact percentage of people who are currently virgins.
Okay.
No, because I honestly don't work with a lot of virgins. A lot of the people that I work with are sexually experienced.
So what was this 1 out of 4 women are the Christian
Well,
women?
there's
This is
a
just
lot of
generalization.
No,
Like
in the
Okay.
church culture in general. So in church faith-based settings, there are a lot of women who are virgins because we are actually brought up to be that.
Right.
I'm not saying majority of women are virgins. I believe majority of women,
Sexually active.
yes. I think though that there is still a really good subgroup of women who are virgins and who are having trouble in other areas like masturbation, porn, sexual fantasies.
We're gonna
and
talk
those
about
types
that
of
too.
things.
We're gonna talk
I
about
don't
that.
think it's the sexual. They're having sex with men. I think that they are virgin. There's a percentage of women in the church, and even a small percentage of men in the church. It's just not popularized. Like
That's
men
true.
don't go out here like I'm a virgin. I'm a
I do
virgin.
know other male virgins.
But
You
they
do?
are.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's get to the super chat.
I want to go. Damn, I just got so many questions. I want to go to the super chat too, but
Okay.
but real quick, I want to be very clear about this. Like, what is a virgin? Like, can I have some oral sex?
Mm.
Can you participate in anal sex? Like
Masturbation.
masturbation? Like, so
Wow.
what is a virgin?
You wanna give your
But this is my perspective, right?
Okay.
On a technicality level, if there's no penetration, you are a virgin. Nobody can take that
So
from
you
you.
can can violate yourself.
On a technicality level, like if we being technical,
Okay.
Hey, hit that
no,
Slayer. Hit
no
that Slayer.
vaginal penetration.
before God, nah, you're not no virgin. If you are oral sex, they call it oral sex. Anal sex, they call it anal sex. Before God, you're not a virgin. But what I'm saying is on a science level, can you say nobody broke my hymen or did whatever? Yeah, you get what I mean? You get away with that. But
Okay.
and this is helpful.
before God, nah. go
that
ahead.
question, because really, and me and my friend, we were talking about this in the car on the way here. Really, people, we want to pinpoint the behavior that kind of crosses us over from one thing to another, but really, we can't really fix our behavior or change our behavior or align ourselves with any sort of like I'm a virgin, whatever, until we really deal with like the root of that. And the root is really what's the nature of your heart, right? Because I was watching porn. I wasn't having sex. I was watching porn. I wasn't having sex.
When did you start? How old were you?
First of all, she said that like we was gonna be surprised.
Yeah, how old were
Yeah,
you?
because y'all think everything is a surprise that I tell you, but I was watching porn for maybe a few years, and that then led to masturbation.
As a teenager though?
No. I was adult. I think I
Okay,
was
okay.
maybe in my 20s.
Okay. I got you.
Maybe in my early 20s. Just curiosity.
Yeah.
and human nature led me to internet videos and these different things that I could watch. And I was like, ooh. And then you find the type you like. You might not like the raunchy. You might not like the raunchy porn. You might like the romantic porn.
Yeah, slow,
right?
slow kissing.
So you find the type you like, and I don't like that aggressive, that violent stuff, right? And but you find the type you like, and then but we have a sense as human we want to segment sins, like we want to segment wrongdoings or wrong ways of being with like, oh, more righteous, or like virginity, or like
that's a fact.
No. The thing is, you're perverted in your mind. Every time a girl walks by with a certain shape, you envision her naked.
So let's just be real. Like, yes, that's 100% accurate. But women are masturbating heavily right now.
Yeah.
We had, I think it was Jay. We had what was a huge conference that they have for women. I think Sarah Blake's has like this huge conference.
Women Evolve.
The Women Evolve. Huge. I mean, this is thousands.
He said 40.
Of women.
I think he had over 40,000.
Over 40,000 women. Right now, they got all these women in the same hotel. So they do like these studies. The hotels to kind of find out what the people who at the hotel are doing. So over that weekend, for the year, it was the highest amount of porn usage on their internet service.
Wow.
And that weekend was the highest weekend for minibar sales. So literally that weekend, you got a bunch of women tapping out at the minibar and probably fingering themselves to sleep.
Wait, where did we get these statistics from?
This is real life.
Yeah, this happened, and I don't know if we should say his name, but a very well trusted brother who's deep into the community was the person who pulled this data for us.
Okay,
and that's where he got that from. But believe it or not, it's actually, I think, just to be clear, masturbation addiction is high in general in our culture.
Right. And women can do it back to back to back to back.
And
back.
women can like, the way y'all body parts work, y'all can relentlessly. And think about it, the way the dopamine works, it's easy. It's very easy to get addicted to. Very easy release.
Oh yeah, any sexual stimulus is easy to get addicted to. It's literally like the child in front of the TV that you call their name and they don't hear you because they're so transfixed on whatever they're watching. But I would say masturbation is a huge issue for both men and women. I think possibly when you're asking the question about virginity, a lot of women don't have access to enough men that they would necessarily want to have sex with. So the masturbation is just there. Like it's always there with you. And then you have a whole industry of toys, right? That are random commercials on Instagram toy.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like in the cut. It just pops up on
Rose.
you. Yeah,
no. Harley Initiated has dibbled and dabbled into some toy offerings, for the committed couples though.
Yeah.
But okay, for the couple, well, I'm gonna say for the people in marriage, I'm gonna clarify that for myself. What you do in your marriage bed is great. That's none of my business. Like Auntie Tab says, go and be great. Okay, that could be a thing that you want to do with one another. I think the danger though comes when it's a substitute. I think toys are a little bit dangerous because of the substitution aspect of like you getting physical pleasure from something that is not your partner. For me personally, I believe because of the fact that God created sex and the reasons why he created it, not only to be fruitful and multiply, but also for the pleasure principle, because then you have scriptures that say don't deprive each other, but only for a time to submit and consecrate yourselves to the Lord and then come back together so the devil doesn't get in between you. When you have scriptures like that, that's like, oh, the Lord wants us to be bonded for real. Because when we're not having sexual pleasure, the enemy can come in and cause havoc, right? So I think the two reasons why sex even exists kind of points to this aspect of oneness between a man and a woman, more specifically a husband and a wife. And when we're thinking about that, why am I using a toy to do what you do?
Isn't masturbation under that same category?
Oh, absolutely. Which is why I don't think that we should masturbate. I think masturbation falls under the guise of like.
Hold on, wait. So you 14 years in, no masturbation either?
She didn't say that.
No, I said I used to masturbate.
Oh, well, how long you been without masturbation?
A long time, probably 10, maybe 10 years. Maybe 10 years without masturbating. I don't watch porn. I think the porn industry is wreaking havoc on our nation. And I think it's evil in general. But, I experienced it so I can tell people I help people remove it from their lives. But I don't think that you should be a person who is a masturbator. I think that's a area of discipline that you need to build up in your singleness because you're going to need it later. And it's a lack of self-control.
So
I do
We're
want to come back
talk,
to that.
we're gonna talk about that in a minute.
It's gonna be
Hold on,
it's gonna be a
hold on.
hell of a lot of gold at the end of your rainbow for your
my
husband. He gonna be like, oh my god.
Yeah, that thing ain't untouched. You wouldn't just be able to blow on that thing and she gonna go crazy.
Lord,
You ain't gonna have to do much, but go ahead. Let's read the super chats.
Yeah, so real quick. So I want to give a shout out to everybody who has joined the membership because this is the thing, guys. It's unsolicited, by the way, but now I gotta solicit you. Please join the membership. We got some very good things for you. In fact, show that book real quick, Tyshawn.
Yes.
In fact, Coach Canden, we actually going to give a signed autographed copy of her published book. And this that pureness they need.
Yeah.
It's that pure.
I'm dropping gems in there.
It's that pure. So we actually want to give that away at the end of the show, and I'm gonna give y'all the details. And it's only for the members. So shout out to Patty, shout out to Tanshell, shout out to S. Freeman, shout out to Kenneth, Nikki, Female Hustle, and Jennifer Shavira, who have recently joined the channel membership.
Shout out.
And we're like, guys, we're like 50 people away from 600. I told Tyshawn it's only gonna be a couple months before we had 1,000, but this is incredible because we've only been running the memberships for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is really
And by the
incredible.
way, we got 1,000 people in here right now.
1,000 people
and
in
only
the chat right now.
345
What's up, y'all?
likes. Get us to 500. While Ryan is giving these announcements,
Yes.
hit the like button. Get us to 500 likes. But go ahead.
I'm done with the announcements. I got this question. Shout out to Sarita Shirley. Sarita, listen, I'm gonna let you slide because I figured you probably new to the chat. But for us to get these questions out, it's got to be at least 10. But I'm gonna take care of you. So when is the best time to tell a man you are a virgin? And I'm gonna first swing it to Dozy
Yeah.
Yeah.
because he's the man. He's the man.
I say keep it 100 with him. At least like first or second conversation, like the moment you have a deep conversation or the moment it gets sexual, you should say this. And the reason I say this is it's not fair to a man if you don't let him know. The reason I say that too is because in life today, when we date, it's an understanding that we're eventually going to have sex. Just an understanding, even in the most respectful way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go ahead and you get to know this man and y'all been knowing each other for a while, and all of a sudden when he's ready to do that, you don't tell him that, you deceived him. And so it's only fair to everybody to be respectful, to let him know early on, like, hey, look, this is something I plan on doing. So at least he knows if he can stay or if he can go. But if you don't tell him and he slides later on, that's your fault, sweetheart. Like,
Yeah.
we gotta let each other know, you know?
You're gonna filter out a lot.
Listen.
You're gonna filter out a lot of busters.
Yes.
By letting them know that. I'll tell you that much.
And I got another one. So shout out to our lovely member, Jasmine Brown. Jasmine says, just for you, Canden. This is interesting. She says, at what point of dating, because I think this is a completely different question, in my opinion. At what point of dating should you communicate that you are abstaining from sex?
I think the conversation should move naturally. One, I don't feel like abstinence. I feel like abstinence is completely normal. I know a lot of our.
No.
But I'm gonna take it.
Face right now.
It's not
It's
me
not,
personally. I'm
right.
gonna take it different if a young lady tells me she's a virgin versus if she tells me she's abstinent. If she's abstinent, I
Yeah.
kind of got the side out of it.
No. I got you. What I'm saying is, when I say that I feel like abstinence is normal, it means that, like, just as people consider a sexual relationship, like we've normalized it, like it's like this, like first date with the person, you kiss and then y'all inside, like, you know what I'm saying? This is a normal thing. I feel like abstinence is just as normal. I think there's a lot of people who don't do that one day and have sex with you. I think they have to think about it, right? And so for me, when I am dealing with someone that is a potential, I let the conversation go naturally. If sex comes up, then we talk about it. But here's the thing, and this is why this question, the problem with the question is that people are dating men and women who they know are not discipled in certain ways. And then they're
not Christian.
Yeah, they're not Christian. And then you get in a relationship with the person who's not Christian, or who's kind of Christian, but not really. Like, they like church, they respect the Bible, but they never read it. Yeah, they're spiritual. And so then you ask them, then you pop up saying, I'm abstinent. Yeah, they're taken for a loop, right? Because that's never been on their radar. Now, there are a lot of Christians, and I know that there's a large percentage of Christians who abstinence is not normal for. So don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to pretend like every Christian is just familiar with abstinence, but to a certain extent, we kind of know in the faith-based setting, like, all right, you're not supposed to. This is what you should be, even if you're not doing it.
And by the way, most of the women I date are Christians, and none of them are really practiced. None of them are virgins.
Practice abstinence.
And none of them are practiced. None of them are abstinent.
So if you met a woman and she did say it, you would be completely shocked.
I already told you how I feel about that at the beginning of the show. And for those of you who don't know, abstinent celibacy in today's place means either I'm celibate because I don't actively have a man that I trust to have sex with. So you call it celibate until you find somebody else that you like and you would quickly have sex with them. Or I've had so many bad sexual experiences in the past that I just completely cut it off. And I'm just really detoxing this joint again, mainly until I find somebody that I now trust.
Or
it's not this
have a conviction.
But
you never met no woman who had a conviction.
I have never met a woman in dating that truly had like a deep conviction where she was like, yo, my goal is to take it all the way to marriage.
I agree.
It was always this ambiguous end mark where it wasn't to go to marriage. It was just I'm abstinent until I feel like I shouldn't be.
Just until
which makes it weak.
Okay.
And that's what makes it weak, because it's like going on a diet or having a plan with no end. Like, what are you working towards?
You don't have a strategy.
What's the outcome?
Right.
It's a weak plan. So any woman that says she's abstinent and she doesn't know when is going to be the cutoff or what she's taking this to, then you're likely to be lusted or debated out of that.
No, 100%, and I think you're correct. But I think we got to let I would be interested in knowing the type of women and how you're vetting them, because it is normal in my community for the Christian women that I know, a lot of Christian women that are around me, that sex is not a thing that is really on the table. Now, listen, we're human beings.
What church you go? Yes, that's like
and it's possible that they could be communicating something to you that they're not true. That's not true. Right?
No, listen to me, guys. Listen to me.
Are you?
The thing is, the type of man. We had this conversation. You could be attracting a certain type of thing based on what women think about you. So when women see you, they may be like, well, Dozier is big, he's strong, he got the beard, he talked the talk, he's an ex-athlete. They've already pigeonholed you into a sexual place.
You're saying they're changing their mind?
I'm saying the type of women that are approaching you or that you could be approaching are not the discipled women in the area of their sexuality.
I'm approaching a fine, beautiful woman that loves the Lord. That's all I'm.
How you know they love the Lord?
Yeah, how you know?
Based on how they worship and how they move in church.
Oh, so you dating most women in church? Like, is that where you found?
No, but I mean,
sir.
Right.
No, sir.
But I'll say this though: if I'm dating a shorty right today, to your point, a Christian or not, well, Christian, of course. Not 90% of them are not. They'll say they're abstinent, but they're really doing it because I told them I'm waiting now. So they'll all say, I always wanted to be. It's dope that I found a man on that. So they all planned on it and wanted to be, but nah, they're not. And so that's why I'm telling you, like, it's cute to say, but these Christians is not waiting.
We need you to do a poll on your audience to see if women are actually, because the thing is,
I wouldn't even want to do them like that.
I believe
it's anonymous. It's anonymous.
I believe that women are having sex. I believe men are having sex in the world, right? Because it's just a natural thing and it's a sexualized world. What I'm saying though is not everybody that you think is having sex, and it's not necessarily for those are two good reasons that could be, but some of the reason is that you were raised a certain way and you were like, this is a conviction that I have. That doesn't mean that you're always perfect in that area, but that means by the grace of God, like Dozier's whole life, and my life as well, right? By the grace of God, either God has keeps convicting you, even people who are having a great sex life right now. They're getting it in. They're having an amazing sex life. They don't have a lot of peace. Some of them, God keeps tapping you like, this is not right. And I think the same thing for people who are not having sex. The conviction inside of them tells them this is not a good thing for you to do. Now, their bodies are saying one thing, but in their minds, they're like, no, I'm going to abstain. Not because I'm just hurting because men did me wrong, because this is not a good idea. Like, I know single mothers right now, like, I'm not having sex because I don't feel like this is a good idea for my future to get to the goal of having a man who actually loves me without this.
So they're asking me for a poll right now, but what's the poll exactly?
The poll is, have you ever, because you guys are saying, no, everyone's having sex. Essentially, 90% of women are having sex.
Yes.
Okay. So the poll is,
what percentage of women are abstinent right now?
The poll is, have they ever spent a amount of time abstinent?
How much? No, give them a time. Give them an amount of time. At least a year. At least a year
Okay,
abstinent.
we can do a year. We can do
a year plus. Ask in the poll, has any woman
You think
spent
they're gonna lie, Ron? Why you?
It's not that. It's not that. I think it's just better if we just ask their sexual status. Just tell them to drop it in the chat. The sexual.
but see
No,
again,
but
abstinent
it's a
is like if
poll.
they're not having sex with
Alright,
nobody.
like-
Listen, let me know. Let me know.
Because they
Give me the
gonna
poll.
count.
Give me the poll.
Because what I don't want you guys to do
Have
is
you
think-
ever spent a year or more completely abstinent? Does that also mean no masturbation? Can we put that in there as well?
Come on, it's gonna be 0.
It's a done
Well,
deal.
Okay, I won't do them like
I
that.
don't know
I won't do
that.
them like that.
I don't know that they wouldn't masturbate.
Okay.
So-
We won't be that hard.
Yeah,
All
but I
right.
think they're probably not sexually active.
All right.
Have you ever spent 1 year or more intentionally abstaining from sex?
Not because you didn't have no dude, not because you was out of town and you was on a work trip.
I don't see it.
No?
I don't see it. No.
There's a whole community
I wanna-
of people who are not having sex
there's
right
some
now.
that exist.
I have so many friends who are devoted to God and discipled in that area where they're like, I'm not having sex.
I got friends that's virgins.
They're
too, and I can tell you
attractive. They're
most
in the
things-
gym. They
Yeah.
look good.
Look, you're gonna have to. They need to walk around with a sign on their head.
So,
'cause I don't
so check
believe
it.
this.
Here's what we're gonna do
Wow.
because we actually we already backed up for the initiation hotline.
I'm gonna drop this. Have you ever spent 1 year or more intentionally abstaining from sex? This is ladies and gentlemen. Please be honest
ladies
with
and
us.
gentlemen.
Please be
Yes.
honest. It's an anonymous poll, so nobody's gonna call
Nobody
you out.
knows.
There's no embarrassment here, and it's
Even
just a
Dozy is
simply
unbelievable.
yes or no. Let's just be real.
And while we waiting on that, let's actually get to this initiation hotline.
Shout out to Larita Narcisse
I know
too.
when line play.
So go ahead and pull that number up because we're gonna go ahead and get to it. So y'all gonna call in here and listen. I want. Oh my gosh, today's gonna be fun. This initiation hotline.
So first off, I don't know if they all talked before we dropped this
No,
poll.
I'm
'cause
telling you.
right now is
It's supposedly everybody.
yo. So let me tell you something. The chat is really like. They really
They going
defending
off?
this. They
Yeah,
going
I
off
was
right
like,
now.
this is real
First off,
life.
I've never seen the
This
votes
is
go
real
so
life.
high so quickly.
Wait,
Now, over 200 people and 82% of them are saying yes.
Thank
question.
you.
I want y'all to know because I want
say it's
the people that call up. I want questions specifically around dating while abstinent, virginity, or anything surrounding the abstinence lifestyle, guys. I want to keep the conversation here. So only questions, not statements, not retributions, not testimonies, but questions around that. So if when the calls come in, Lano, let me know. We got somebody on here. Welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. Give me your age, your location, and your question.
My age is 35 and I'm from North Carolina. My question is, in dating, I feel like I have not met many men who are abstaining. And if I mention that I'm abstaining, then it's kind of like, okay, deuces. So my question is, why are there so little men who are abstaining from sex?
that's a great question.
Lay down with the dozy.
Simple answer is because there's a lot of men that are not serving the Lord. That's really the main thing. And so when you have the core reason, a lot of men are not coming to church and then they don't want to honor God. There's no reason to abstain. If I'm living outside of Christ, why in the world would I wait till marriage? So your real reason is, hey, why is there so many men not honoring God? That's the real core answer to your question. Because if you find a man not having sex and he's not serving the Lord, he's a little different. You know what I mean? Like he's a little different. Why? And so I would say to help that out is really to go to more faith-based areas or events or whatever to find men that are faith-based. That'll be your best bet to find a man that's truly willing to abstain.
Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah.
For you, but I would
think
say
that
this,
was a really good.
Yeah, because I think
That's the
I think that's a big question. A lot of those ladies, a lot of ladies will have that are taking that walk, finding somebody that's gonna actually a dude that's gonna be able to walk with them
Right.
in that. But just know if he literally, if that's something that's very important to you, if you know that that's the lifestyle that you want to choose and that's what you need, and he does that, just know he made the process very easy for you. None of your time was wasted. That guy was absolutely not for you. But I also want you to watch out for another character, because I don't think anybody that kind of says that they're okay with it and moves forward is for you as well.
Deep game.
Right.
Because there's another guy out there, and I know because I was this guy, that's going to be up for the challenge. So you got to watch somebody who
100%.
is respectful of your walk in a way where he will try to tame his own desires to be respectful of yours. Because me, what I will try to do is put the pressure on you
Yep, the game.
and create an environment that's gonna make you crack. That was the old me. That was the old me.
That's the old me. You're new now.
Nah, that was he's right though.
But
That's really good.
You absolutely just so don't get all up in thinking this gonna be your husband just because he's like, oh, whatever. That ain't no big deal.
That's real.
Watch how he actually moves, and watch what situations he puts you in, and how the pressure he puts you under to really evaluate how respectful he is of these values that you're expressing are important to you.
Yep.
Because the reality is most men, or a lot of men, they're using sex recreationally. So, that means when you get bored, when you got some free time, when you just want to relieve some stress.
Yep.
So a lot of times women can be the quote unquote victims, or on the opposite end of that receiving end from that. So I'm in 100% agreement.
So look, thank you so much. That was an absolutely amazing question. Okay.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Be blessed.
That was a great question. Good questions all around tonight. Y'all are really killing it.
Absolutely.
We got another call in or what?
We got it coming up. I want to get that poll read though, because
shout out to Purple Girl and shout out to Larita Narcisse for joining the membership. Y'all really supporting the channel right now. Like I really want to give it up to y'all. And 331 first off, poll only been out there 5 minutes.
I told y'all it's some women out here that's not
okay.
For that.
Listen, guys, have you ever spent 1 year or more intentionally abstaining from sex? 84%. Let me not slip. 84% of people said yes. 336 votes. 5 minutes up. So I mean,
my boy,
Canden. I mean, your theory is present proven
out here. That's like, listen, this is not a good idea. Like, I need to be for real with God in every way, so that there's no parts of my life that keep me up at night, right? And so I think this is helpful. Oh, he got somebody on the line.
No, you good.
No, you good.
Okay.
You good. They don't be patient.
But I like Sis's question that called in, because you can enter into pockets of discouragement when you don't find a lot of attractive men who are alpha and who are, the type of men we like. We like the men to still be the men out here, And so you can enter into like this space of like, why am I doing this? If like there's all the men are just going to use themselves up until they're gone. But my message of encouragement to people who feel that way, I do feel like it's such an amazing, you get a different vibe when you're around different people. When you fly a little higher, few of us have been in rooms where all of the, like, let's just say you're in a room with 10 people and 8 of them are millionaires.
Yeah.
Most of the population has not been in an environment like that. Right. Does that mean that those environments don't exist? They happen every day.
That's a great point.
So what I'm saying is, I think
we've been in poverty environments. Man.
You've been in poverty mindset.
We've been in poverty
environments.
Soulless environments.
Hey, but not in this hardly initiated chat though.
Okay.
Oh yeah, chat.
Shout out to the
ladies. Shout out to the wholesome chat. Okay. The fellas in there too.
And
somebody calling for an abstinence meetup.
I actually think most of the abstinence.
It'll be one of y'all and Coach Canden.
There's a rumor that says most of the people that were absent actually in the chat were men. So shout out to the men, the brothers, and their random numbers up.
Come on, fellas. I love to see it.
We got somebody on the line here. Welcome to Hardly Initiated. Give me your age, location, and your question.
Yeah.
My name is Juliana, and I am 27 from Orlando.
27? What's up?
She sounds wholesome. This is the voice. I know whatever you're saying is true.
What's your question?
Okay. So I've recently started seeing somebody, and it's been really great. But I fell into, which I wanted to like hold off a little bit. That ended up not happening. So we've been sexually active, and my question is I've been feeling very like what's the word? Like guilty about it, I guess. And so I want to stop, but then like, how do I have that conversation with him to be like, is this something that you would be interested in doing with me? Or is this like, if I want to stop, it would be an end to the like relationship?
She want to switch up on him.
Right.
Yeah.
She want to put that switcheroo on him.
That's a good question.
That question right there, y'all asking some real high
No,
level.
Can I
That's-
have a
questions right now.
follow-up question
really
though for
great
her?
question.
Absolutely.
So
What
did
would
you guys ever talk about abstaining before this happened, or is this a decision that you just made out of, you know, the result that he just has no awareness of any of your values as far as not being sexually engaged anymore, or you guys already had previous conversation?
We had a brief conversation after, and I was like, well, I kind of wanted to wait, but it's too late now.
Okay.
Type deal. But that's as far as the conversation went. Like, we haven't had it.
First of all, if you say you kind of want to wait, you ain't gonna
Right.
wait.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. That's the thing I've noticed about people who are that's not conviction, because the only thing that can stop something as strong as the desire of lust. Lust is one of the strongest desires we feel in this human experience. The only thing that can stop that is to be absolutely convicted.
Yes.
So if there's a kinda, if there's a sorta, if there's a maybe, you're gonna have some sex.
Right.
So that's the reality of the situation. So now the reality of the situation is I still don't sense conviction in you. So are you feeling guilty because you're watching this show? Or is this something that you absolutely want to take on?
No, it's definitely something that I want to take on. It's how I was raised. I am a pastor's daughter. So that's how I was raised. That's what my intention was. And then hit early 20s and went a completely different way. And it's something that like I've been really strongly convicted about recently. And so it's something that I've wanted to put in place, but it's hard, you know? And then now I feel like watching the show, I feel like a lot of this has been brought up recently, a lot more, I feel like, than even the like earlier days of the show in like abstaining and whatnot. And so, I feel like it's just brought more of a conviction to me than what I was already feeling originally.
Canden, listen. We need the sauce, Canden. Like, hit us,
Yeah.
coach, hit us. What's the next steps for this young lady?
So first, I think it should just be as simple as a conversation. But here's the reluctancy of having the conversation with the person and being serious about it is that you don't want to be a clown, meaning like you don't want to be double-minded. Like I didn't want us to go that far. We now have gone that far. I would like to take it back a little bit, but there's this fear of like, what if I slip up again? One, because I don't even know my capacity for going back.
Yeah.
And then there's also this fear of like, what is he going to think? Is he still going to want to be with me, even though the sex is not there? Right. And how are we going to continue on now that has already been done? So there's a couple of things here. I would highly suggest that you have this conversation as plainly as possible. But before you have it, sis, you write down exactly how you feel and what you want to have happen.
That's a good idea.
Because what happens is we get into conversations with people that we are somewhat emotionally and now physically, connected to, and it becomes like this walk down memory lane or this reoriented emotional conversation. Listen, abstaining is a decision. It's not emotional. It's a decision and a commitment that you make based on your value system of being like, hey, I love the Lord. I know that he didn't want me to do this. I know he has something purposed for me in the context of marriage, and I would like to reserve and retain some of it. Okay. So it's a decision first and foremost. Write down what is your decision. And furthermore, write down what is your why for the decision, right? I am abstaining because I love the Lord, because I was taught that, and I believe that's the best way to raise a family, because I want to instill purity in my children. Whatever your why, whatever your highest intrinsic motivating factor is, I want you to write those things down so that you can get to aligned within yourself first before you have this conversation with this is your partner, your boyfriend? Or just someone you were dating? Okay, so
we're like beginning stages.
Okay,
Boy,
so
wait. I want to get some clarity here. Beginning stages of what?
So like we've been talking for a couple months, but it hasn't like turned into a relationship yet.
I want to ask you this too.
Is that not a different? That's different, right? I mean, they're not even.
I mean, she still needs to do the same thing.
Yeah,
if she's
no.
going to move forward further with the
But it's like we've been talking somewhat future plans.
So wait, has he communicated that he also wants to remove sex, or is that nowhere
Yeah.
near his
No.
value system?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if it's within his value system or not.
And when did y'all have? How soon in the relationship did y'all have sex?
Like 4th, 5th date.
The fourth, fifth date, and which was like, was that like, I don't know, like the second, third week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So from a
I
male's
think-
perspective, you're saying this
I
is not even
mean,
relative.
this the thing. We don't even have a level of commitment. We already been having sex. You let me get to it after the 4th or 5th time. You know, it's kind of like
The likelihood that this dude is gonna be a rider is extremely low.
yeah.
And it's
for
just
sure.
because you didn't have the hard conversations first.
Exactly.
That's just the reality of the situation. Like, this dude is just not well vetted. So you really don't know who he is and who he's about. And that's the thing.
And he has no commitment. Like, this guy has, I mean, that's the most important thing, even before you had sex, is having some level of commitment. So without that level of commitment involved, I mean, this is he's I would imagine he's gonna have an emotional reaction from this. Now, hopefully it's a mature one. It's a mature one.
But it doesn't really matter for her. Okay, so for the first thing is she has to align with herself, because it doesn't matter who she dates. Like, let's say she dates, let's say she continues with, let's say this guy miraculously is like, listen, that's fine. I have a conviction about it too. Maybe that I was denying. It could happen, right?
I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is, like, regardless if she continues dating this guy, or if you, sis, on the phone, because I don't want to, I'll speak to you directly. If you continue dating the guy, or if you don't continue dating the guy, this is helpful for you to know that, like, I have a conviction. I am actually glad that the self-awareness kind of kicked in for you. Like, I actually want to return and not have sex. And this, what I want you to do is write down the things that I told you. And then this is going to be helpful for you going forward with any person that you encounter on a romantic level. The conversation with this guy is not, hey, I want us to do X, Y, and Z. The conversation is, this is a decision that I have made, that it was a mistake that I did, and I apologize for it, because this is not reflecting of my values. My behavior was not a reflection of my values, and I actually want to wait until marriage. And so I just wanted to let you know that I do not desire, and we will not be doing it again. It's not a we are in this together type thing, because like Ryan said, there's no commitment. There's you with yourself, and then there's you with the Lord.
And you're going to have to do that regardless of whatever you think the pending result of you doing that is. So whether you don't not do it because you don't think he's going to stay around, you need to absolutely do it for yourself, regardless of whatever comes, whatever consequence is associated with that.
And that is conviction. That's what that is. It is this unmovable belief and idea that you have that cannot be debated out of you. Like, it's absolute. And I'm gonna be honest with you, you sound like a super sweet young lady, but you don't really sound convicted in what you want just yet.
Yeah.
And just make sure, listen, you gave some really great game to her. I actually want to follow up on that. So make sure you send us an email to let us know how that conversation goes after you have it with him, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Listen, you have a blessed day.
What a great calling.
You
I mean,
too.
her level of vulnerability and being so honest about feeling guilt from being sexually active.
No, it's a thing.
That was
and
good.
What women do is they'll cut. Let's just say they were in a relationship, like Adosia was saying before. They will just say, "Oh, we're broken up because you're keeping me from God."
Right.
So now we're not. But there are a lot of couples who have struggled. They have struggled and they have prevailed, and they have realigned themselves with their values. It's tough once you check that box. It's really tough to go back, but it's not impossible. You can care about somebody and say, I care about myself, I care about my relationship with God, and I care about you. So let's actually put some strategy and some boundaries in place to where this is not an issue. The thing is, we don't want extreme strategy. We don't want extreme boundaries here. We want to play around. You come to my house and let's watch a movie.
Right.
Let's go out, and so I can put on the pretty little black dress, sexy, and let's have the 5-star dinner, and let's pretend. And then you end up not creating the strategies and the boundaries around your sexual purity, but you create strategy around your money. You create money management. Don't you manage your money? Don't you manage your physical fitness?
Damn right.
So why don't you have strategy around the most important access to your body? That needs strategy. That needs some sort of standard and boundary. Like, hey, do you, and it's not a condemnation. It's a question as we're dating. Hey, What do you think about sex before marriage?
Right.
Are you pro sex before marriage? What do you think the implications of that will be if we have sex at a certain point? How do you think like you'll handle that? How will we get to marriage if that's your goal? If you are trying to get to marriage, how will we get to marriage, and what time will we get to marriage if sex becomes a factor?
I think that's a very relevant conversation prior to engaging in sex, whether you seeking a casual arrangement or a long-term arrangement. I still think that is very.
Is not have you ever had sex and do you want to have sex with me?
Yeah.
It's what is your goal for relationship, romantic relationship? And if your goal is marriage, how do you plan on getting there? What time period are you looking to get there? That way, as a woman and men, you have to guard yourself now too, because women be out of control out here. It's as a woman, should we even get to the second and third conversation? I love what you said, well vetted. We do not vet. We like, he fine. He asked me out.
He opened doors.
We have
for
good
me.
Synergy. Does he reflect your values? Does he love the Lord? Is he going to be able to cover you? Because a husband is no light thing. A husband is like, literally, Ephesians says that a husband presents you blameless to himself, meaning he presents you to himself pure, like without spot, wrinkle, nothing. So if you are dating a man or considering a man who would rather have your body than present you spotless, that's already a red flag. You need to slow down. You don't condemn him. You don't tell him he's not a good Christian. You say, hey, actually, the standard that I have is for a man to wash me with the word.
I actually got a question for Dozier too that I want to ask after we get this call here.
Shout out to Journey to Satisfaction and Margier for joining the membership, guys. And remember, anybody who joins the membership, not anybody, one special member tonight is going to receive a signed autographed copy of Canden's book. So if you heard that sauce she just dropped for that young lady that called in, which I would love to follow up. I would love to see what happens after that conversation, by the way. You're going to get a signed copy of this book, and we're going to tell you how to get it at the end of the show.
And what I want to do, guys, because I don't know, for some reason, we like real slow on that like button tonight. It's well over. We already hit over 1,100 people, and we don't even have 500 likes. So just quickly, everybody hit the like button to get us to 600 here, because let me tell y'all, some folks need this message. Y'all hit that button. YouTube pushes it out to the people. I need y'all to hit that like button, the thumbs up for me really quickly. But look, we got somebody on the call. Welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. All right. Give me your age, your location, and your question.
Hi, I'm 25. I'm calling from Maryland. So
wait, did you say Maryland?
Maryland, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you got that accent.
Yeah,
we get some diverse call-ins.
Yeah. You said you're African? Yeah. What part of Africa are you from?
I'm from Ghana.
Ghana.
Okay.
Big shout out. What's your question?
So my question is, I'm 25 and I'm a virgin, and I've been talking to this guy for some time now, and I've told him I want to wait till I get married, but sometimes he makes me feel like he's waiting because I'm waiting. And I'm worried because I feel like that's not what he wants for himself. He's waiting because I'm waiting. So I don't know if I should let him go or be a little bit patient with him.
Great question.
This is a great question
because
for
Dozy,
Dozy.
didn't you kind of describe some kind of
absolutely talking about this prior? And so look, I thank you for asking that. The truth of the matter is, in this space of waiting till marriage, especially for women being virgins, practicing abstinence, all of this stuff, you got to understand that the man that's choosing to wait for you or wait because of you, that's a blessing. You're not going to find a lot of men that's willing to change their mind for you or even work with that. He doesn't have to make the decision for himself to want to be a virgin. The fact that he wants to be with you is good enough. And I think, and I say that to say, because there's a lot of women out here who will be like, he's not doing this for me. He's doing this. I mean, he's not doing this for God. He's doing it for you. The fact that he wants to be with you and honor God at the ending, it doesn't matter how he gets there. If the result at the end of it is marriage, then what difference does it make? Because you're going to be having sex in marriage anyways. So if he's just doing this now, cool. Because eventually I'm going to have sex anyways. You're just doing it the right way. He doesn't have to make a core decision, but if he does, it's great. If he doesn't, is great because it's going to be really hard to find another man that's willing to walk with you in this.
So I got a question for you really quickly. Now, is this brother like miserably going through this process with you? Like,
Yeah,
or being passive aggressive,
yes.
or
just answer that question. Is he miserably going through this process?
Okay. So sometimes I think he wants to do other things, like how far is too far, and I'm like, if I want to wait, I want to wait. I don't want to do any other thing. No, I mean, let's wait. If you're waiting, let's wait.
So like give me an example, like what he wants to have, like oral sex or masturbate with you, like he wants to
touch me and other things.
Absolutely. And you probably don't know your own boundaries. Ask him.
I do. I want to wait. Like, I want to wait.
You don't want to do anything.
I'm waiting. I don't want to do anything around it because
I
don't want to get to a situation where, I mean, how far is too far, and at the end of the day, you are there. So I just
absolutely. And so it's funny because Canden and me was speaking about that earlier. I completely understand where you are, and I would tell you to stick to your boundaries. Now, here's the reality. The closer you guys get and the more he likes you, every now and then he may try and push. As long as he's willing to honor your boundaries at the end of the day, even if he fights and he decides no, and you guys can agree no, he's still a good man. If he decides to push your boundaries and he continuously pushes and there's no resolving, then you need to cut him off because he's not going to honor you, but he's human and he wants to be with you. So I want you to be, I'm making this very practical for you because ministers won't tell you this. At the end of the day, the closer he gets to you, the closer that wedding day comes, the more he's going to want to be with you. So that's a practical thing that a lot of women don't understand in Christianity. And so I'm telling you now, if he's a good man, when he tries, have him understand. You might have to tell him no sometimes. That may happen in this relationship. But if he's willing to wait, it's a blessing. You feel me?
Hold on. So I got a face. I got a face over here. So we got a difference of opinion over here. I want to hear this.
That sounded really great.
Me and Dozier, we don't see exactly eye to eye on this. And here's why. I do agree that if you're in a relationship, you both will have moments where you stumble, like you will want to have sex. My issue is if you guys are in fact talking about marriage and planning to be married, like for a fact this man wants you for you. My issue is, how is he going to lead the home if she says, this is my value, this is a boundary I don't want to cross, and he then is pushing you to do something that you've already said is a boundary, a commitment for you. We get hot and heavy and we start kissing and he wants to, he's aroused and he's like, it's okay if we go further in the moment. But it sounds like, it's like, how far is too far? To me, sounds like, oh, we can have oral sex. I mean, it's okay for us to like sit here for hours kissing. And if we touch and if our clothes go off, it's totally fine. When in fact, it isn't actually fine. The way that you get into a sexual relationship with somebody is you say that little things are fine until they lead up to big things.
So you pretty much saying he just kind of waiting around till she.
No. I'm saying that he's not discipled. What I'm saying is he's human and he deserves love, and they may even be meant for each other. But I'm saying until he actually begins to get around some men specifically that are discipled in the area of purity and that say, hey, this isn't the road to being a husband. The road to being a husband is to present the woman without blemish unto yourself, like Christ did the church. He literally sacrificed his entire life and body so that we could be clean.
Okay, now assuming he doesn't do that, though. Assuming he does not do that, because it's safe.
I'm not saying she should discard him.
Okay, now that's because this is a more realistic.
No.
Thank you. Make it practical.
No. She should have standards, Dozie. She should say, hey, I need you. This is my standard, and I'm very serious and intentional about it. Right. And it's a standard meant for me, but because I'm in relationship and partnership with you, it involves you.
That's support.
So therefore, I need you. If you want to be with me and you want us to get married, I need you to figure out a way. This is how you let a man be a man. Figure out a way to deal with your lust and attraction for me when it comes to you pushing me and pressuring me to be sexually engaged with you. You need to figure out, however, that's discipleship, reading the word, us getting into church together. I'm willing to go to the classes with you. Figure out what your strategy is for keeping us within this realm until we get to the altar. If he can't come back to her with a plan, I don't think he's the man for her.
So I think that, because I like what you said, Dozy, but what you saying, that is the difference between somebody being okay with it and somebody supporting you in that journey.
Right.
Yes.
And if that person is then, like you said, they finding the word, they finding some level of counsel, they get putting themselves amongst men so they can now groom themselves and teach themselves to have the same mindset. I think that is a man that is really, really serious about this woman.
Just get some accountability.
Yeah, that's ideal, but
It's
I like
not
what you're saying.
practical, and here's-
It's not always very practical.
not
So like
practical.
like
That's a good point.
we gotta really deal with
But
reality
what's
here.
gonna happen is they're gonna continue to have sex, and she's gonna continue to.
Well,
feel
here's
guilty.
a very important question, because I want to know this from the sister. How long have y'all been together, by the way?
I think I've known him for a year now, and I mean, we started talking 5 months now.
Okay. Has he expressed intention for long-term commitment and marriage with you?
Yeah, but I feel like he's not ready to put in the work.
Yeah, he ain't.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm very clear.
So
that
now
he
see,
isn't.
that's something. Now see that's something that's different.
but if,
Because now
if
this
the
sounds
Canden
more like the
described, though,
waiting around, because you're talking about the guy that's just kind of waiting around and waiting for you to slip up. Because I mean, 5 months, guys will mess around and wait around for like 5 months, and like
or longer, depending on
how much they feel like
How
they've
how
invested
attracted
and
they are,
how
right?
close that they feel that they are
yeah.
to this goal. So the thing about it is, if you feel like if he's genuinely expressing this long-term commitment with you and his actions are leading up to that, that's one thing. Like, because some brothers might be like, look, I get that's what you want. We about to fast track this marriage. And you see husband in him, okay, cool. But I mean, the thing about it is, if he's not saying that he's gonna marry you or be with you long term, and you don't really see husband qualities, and he's not really supporting you in your walk, then all these different things now this brother just becomes fishy.
Well, so let
to
me
me.
ask you this, Dozy. So would you describe what Canden described that the
Right.
man should be doing? How would you describe that? Is that not support?
That's definitely support. It's definitely support. So what I'm saying is, I agree with what Canden said. What I was saying is, understand this woman's asking and saying every now and then he asks to kind of cross my
Gotcha.
boundaries. And so I want to be very clear. Like, what Canden is saying is that technically this woman wants to know, hey, if he comes again, how do I deal with that? And I'm telling you, hey, it's going to happen. It's reality. But if we start saying, hey, if it comes again, that man's not for you, then
Right. You're
we're
saying
looking
give
for a
grace,
perfect
'cause
man.
we're
Right. We're
all-
looking for a perfect man. Because
Gotcha.
that's like saying, hey, I expect a woman to respect me for the rest of the time we're dating. Don't ever disrespect me. We know good and well she might disrespect you now and then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give her some
No, that's a
grace,
fact.
right?
I
And
get
so
you.
what I'm saying is, sexually, men, they love sex. That's how they connect with women. Women connect emotionally.
They need sex.
So
as a
he's
matter of fact.
looking, exactly. He's looking to connect with you. This is something that's normal. And I'm like, give some grace. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Like,
give
hey,
some grace,
understand this.
definitely.
Like,
But don't move here's the
Don't
thing.
move
Don't
the-
move the boundary and the
absolutely.
standard.
Yeah.
Because what
Absolutely.
happens is when we love someone as women, we start moving the line for them.
Yeah.
Like
Fair.
he sometimes pressures me to have sex. Listen, if my man told me that he had been molested and there was a certain way, or there was some trauma, or there was some let's not even take it to molestation. Let's say he told me that he was sensitive to a certain thing. He has made me very aware, right? I'm sensitive when you do X, it makes me inside, it's not a good response. It's not a good reaction,
Mhm.
right? If I continue to do that and I don't get the counsel that I need to stop doing that, am I the person that should be married? Am I his wife? Like, if I care about him to the extent of wanting to take it to the point of marriage, I deal with me in order to prevent him from dealing with me. That area of me, where he's saying he's not comfortable. She's saying, no, I'm very clear. I don't want to do anything. If we're abstaining, meaning we're not doing anything, right? Yeah. And he's saying, well, we can do X, and he's bargaining his way into sexual relationship with her.
Yeah.
That is
it's
not
only been 5 months
healthy.
in, though. It's only been 5 months in. So this is early.
Yeah.
They're figuring this out right now.
They are.
Now, if this was 2 years in, I'd be like, all right, this is wild. This is 2 years in, he's bargaining. This 5 months.
Yeah, but he needs to
early.
figure it out without her. He needs to be accountable to someone. This is what happens when in relationships, when you get close to somebody in relationships, what happens, the reason why people don't make it to the altar enough as virgins or as people who have abstained is because they think that they can do it. They think, oh, it's our relationship. It's me against the world. It's right OTR. No. You need your own accountability. If you're not married to a person, you need accountability. They need accountability. You need mentorship. They need mentorship. You need a community. They need a community. Now there's intersection between that, but you're a single person. And when we have sex with someone who is not our partner, whether it's oral sex, anal sex, whether it's going down on someone, whatever it is, we are allowing access where there is supposed to be none, because our bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit. So by continuing to do a little bit, we're actually opening the door for a lot. And a man that it's not that I don't want to give this guy grace. Believe me, sis, I think he's probably a wonderful human being. However, in order to be your husband, he needs discipleship and accountability. You can't force him to get that. You can't berate him into getting it, but you can offer him, you can say to him, hey, this is what I feel like needs to happen with us, and this is how I'll feel comfortable as your woman. If you could just devote some time and investment into learning more about abstinence, purity, into learning about your own convictions and how to respect mine. I
like combining it. I think that both of what y'all saying here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. As a matter of fact, listen, that was such an amazing question. Listen, thank you so much for coming up here and asking that question, sister. Okay.
Okay.
And everybody
Yes,
who did a call in today, guys, I hope you're still listening, but let us know how these conversations go, or like what happens over the next month or a couple of weeks. And you can just email us exactly what you called in about and what the end result is, and just send us an email at info@heartlyinitiated.
And that's look, that's we're gonna use that to close out the initiation hotline today. So thank y'all for those callers. I'm gonna give y'all some real deep game.
Listen, y'all was on point.
I'm gonna give y'all some deep game, because look, what you're saying is so true. Because when I talk about the brother that looks at creating the environment to break the woman, which I've done many times for, especially, I know a warrior, or especially a skilled warrior, he knows, and he understands the kind of woman he's dealing with. He knows a woman who's really deeply convicted and one who's not, one who can be easily swayed. And there's a strategy to break her. So typically, what I would always do, and it would always work every single time, what I would typically do is I would create, when she tells me that that's something that she would want to do, she wants to be abstinent, she wants to, whatever the case is, no sex, cool. I would create my sexual energy to her would absolutely dissipate. I would not at all bring any inkling of sexual energy at her whatsoever. Now, when I'm in an environment with her that's private, that's, secure, that's quiet, I'm in that environment, what I'll start to do is, like you said, jelly bean, start having those small things, right? Bring her into accepting these very small favors.
Yeah.
And it will turn to big things. So it might turn into a hug, and I might say something like, why you hug? Well, hug me for real.
Yeah.
We get a real hug in.
Listen,
I might give a small kiss on the neck.
keep it real.
Kiss on the cheek. If she's
before you know it, my whole butt is in your lap.
And that's how it happens.
I'm just saying, let's keep it 100.
No, so you're 100% right. Like you really do have to understand that, one, you got to be convicted and know exactly what you want, right? Being convicted is understanding this is what you want, having the boundaries and standards set, and not deviating too far from that. But then what my brother here is saying, because I agree with Ryan, you got to marry the two. You might not meet a brother who's also as convicted in that walk.
Sure.
But he might be willing to work with you because he's just that serious about making it work with you.
That's true.
And you got to figure out whether his intentions are to really build something with you, or if his intentions is to be inside of you.
Absolutely.
And that's your job, to have those conversations to figure out what those intentions are.
Mhm.
Now, for context, Tyshawn, he keeps saying the warrior, so he's referencing this book that I think every man should read, and it is King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. But the context is that a man is comprised of 4 archetypes, right? So the warrior specifically, when he's not connected to the lover part of himself, then women are only used to fulfill the warrior's sexual needs. So check out that book. It's a great book. You can check it out. We got our Amazon library up, but I think every man and women should read that book as well, because what women need to have practice and discernment in identifying is this whole man, the man, because the warrior will protect you, right?
Mm-hmm.
He will look out for you. He can do it in a nonviolent way. Right. But when the warrior is disconnected from these other elements of being the king, the lover, the magician, then he's going to operate on a more destructive path.
Oh, yeah. And I know people into their marriage who the man did not have any conviction in the dating relationship, and in the marriage, it actually ended up coming back around, where it's because here's the thing, if you don't eventually grow, not in the beginning, it is only 5 months in, right? But not necessarily in the beginning. Everybody has their process. But if you don't eventually grow into your own personal conviction in this particular area, what you will do is you will do it to make your partner happy, which is okay for temporary. But when you get into a marriage, you'll be like, as long as my partner is happy, great. But what happens when you start desiring your partner sexually? You don't necessarily have the conviction or because you never developed. Like, when did you develop the conviction? You never developed that conviction to be able to say, I'm not going to cheat on my wife, because I understand that this conviction is not, this is my holy conviction with the Lord. Like, I don't have if you don't have the mindset of like, hey, this is my personal relationship with God before I'm married, it is a little tougher to develop that, or you need a higher incentive to be able to develop that within the marriage. You need a reason, and it makes it a little bit more tough and a struggle for you to have conviction when you're not getting sex. Let's just say you're not getting sex in your marriage. She just had a baby, or she's depressed, or whatever the case may be. You don't have a conviction that says, I don't need sex, right? You're you like, I need sex. I'm not getting sex.
Yeah.
And I need sex.
So wait, so are you saying that the man who is willing to wait for her, he doesn't want to, but he's willing to, later on in marriage, when something happens, he might not be?
I'm saying I have seen men who were in the position that she described that didn't have their own conviction. They were just like, okay, I'll do it because you want me to. That later on was never subscribed to necessarily, this is for me. I don't have to be. Their mindset is more so, this is a natural thing, which is great, because it is. We all need physical affection to an extent, right? But anytime you say, I need sex, which is a lot of people say, and I do understand when men say that, but in singleness, you don't need sex. You need to eat. You die if you don't eat. You actually could spend that year that people are saying that they spent, you could spend 2 years developing yourself and growing in conviction to say, I don't actually need sex. Let me see what it's like without it. Because if we're talking about marriage—
You're talking about women or men?
No, I'm talking about both. But I'm talking about if a man specifically does not develop the conviction on his own.
Okay.
Like, you can help him, you can urge him, you can motivate him, you can say, hey, I don't want to do this. And then he's like, actually, that actually sucks. I don't want to do that at all. And then eventually he's like, you know what? Actually, this is a good idea. My head is getting clearer. Like, he's giving in to what you're asking him to fully. That's my only issue with this, is that it doesn't seem like he's giving into it fully for himself. He's like, well, you don't want to do it, but I'm still going to pressure you to do it because I want it. As opposed to the mind and the heart that says, okay, she doesn't want to do it. Let me actually take this time to not only respect her boundaries, but to develop a conviction myself. It's not going to come immediately, but it eventually should come, because I'm telling you, there are marriages where the people were happily married, and where the woman was like, he had a problem before us getting married. I ignored it. I said, it's okay, do this for me. And later on in the marriage, it's like sex became a thing that was kind of a little bit more obsolete. And his mentality, the same mindset that he had before they got married, was the same mindset he had when they got married. And he cheated multiple times throughout the marriage.
We had Pastor Jamal Bryan on the show, and he spoke that men should pretty much practice this level of like abstinence. Yeah.
Monogamy is what he called
monogamy,
it. He said practice monogamy. That's what I actually I want to talk about now, because I saw in your book you were vocal about this. And I think the ladies are probably having some issues here, because if a woman wants to be abstinent, or she's a virgin, she wants to be sexually pure, and she's dating and looking for guys, what's the ideal archetype she should be looking? So when you talk about vetting, what is she really vetting for
Yeah.
to know that this is the kind of guy that she needs to be rocking with?
Well, I think
gotta hear this
I like
answer.
I like our conversation earlier about sexual awareness. I like our conversation about grace. I think sometimes women fall into this space where and I understand why you're saying give grace, but I think women in particular, we're emotionally driven at times, and we can give a lot of grace. We can give a lot. In singleness, marriage, we kind of get fed up. We like, listen, you ain't got no more grace. Let's get these divorce papers. In singleness, when we are building up to the marriage, when we're looking at men, because, oh, there's not a lot of good men, right? There's not a lot of like men who are abstaining. We tend to say, instead of calling men up to a certain standard, we lower ours so that they can feel like the man, right? Instead of gently and femininely saying, hey, I would love it if you did X, Y, and Z so I could feel safer going forward in my relationship with you, right? And just igniting them. And we can do this with our brothers too. This doesn't have to be romantic. I can tell a brother of mine, I call my brothers all the time, like, oh, it was just your birthday. Did you have birthday sex? Did you abstain? Because I know you was abstaining before it was your birthday. Were you abstaining after? Like, I've had real conversations with my brothers where I asked them these questions, right?
Yeah.
And so I can also that's a different type of energy, but I'm still challenging them in a way where I'm not aggressive. I'm asking them because I care about them. How are you stewarding purity? My standard for that I would recommend for women is first and foremost, he has to have a relationship with God. We know that, right? We know that. He has to have a relationship with God. My second, accountability and community. I've dated lone soldiers. That's what they say they were.
Okay.
The problem with a lone soldier is that he's not used to being sharpened at all.
And a lone soldier is somebody who is not surrounded by men who are also living an abstinent and
just
pure lifestyle.
Community in general. It doesn't even have to be a lot of men. There should be some men, but I'm saying men and women help to sharpen you. I have a brother and I have a sister, right? Those relationships, I learned something from each of them with their genders being different. I think just community in general. If he like, oh, I don't do church, I don't do organized religion, right? That's no community. That's a lack of community because you get the sermon, but you also get the socialization.
Yeah.
If he's like, if you ask him, do you have any mentors or people that walk beside you in life? And he's like, nah, I don't mess with people like that. Listen, because you're gonna take me away to a deserted island and kill me. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, men who are not comfortable within those spaces where they actually have tribe and community, it can be tough to say anything to them that they will receive, right? So I think that for me, that's the second thing. Like, I would want to know, what is his community? How does he get along with his family? Even if he has no family, let's just say he has somebody he considers like an adoptive mom at work. I don't know. It doesn't have to be like the cookie cutter idea of family, right? He can have a dysfunctional past and still have community.
But I think you got to be specific around the community, because I got a community. I got multiple communities. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not abstinent.
But that has to do with who you are as a man, though. It actually sharpens.
So see, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
So like, because I want women, I want to give like a way for them to be able to vet a guy who, remember that supportive guy, that dream guy we pictured?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know if they're that guy?
So you're saying, how can a woman find an abstinent man that she wants to connect herself with specifically in those ways?
Actually, yes. Let's go there.
Great.
Let's go there with it.
So the community then has to think positively about abstinence. He should still have community, but he needs a community that actually cheers that. Like, he shouldn't have if all of his boys think cheating and slaying women is fine, that's a problem, right?
Okay.
It is the community aspect, but it's also the type of community you have, right? If I'm broke, I'm not about to, if everybody I know is broke, it's problematic. If that's where I'm trying to go, if the goal is to anchor myself and be an investor or to be someone who's financially savvy, and my entire community puts things on layaway every day. It's a petty. I'm just, but I'm just saying, like, he needs community that aligns with the values that you value. So for me, I value purity, and purity, not just in the aspect of like what you do with your body, but purity in the motive of your heart. The motive is, do I want to please God with my life? Because there's a man who wants to please God with his life, and there's a man who wants to please himself. The difference is those phases you guys talked about, warrior and king, perhaps, right? when I become a man who wants to please God, it don't matter what she do. She can turn around, drop it low.
Fact.
She can show up to the house naked. My conviction, I want to, in my flesh, do what it is that I've always done. But in my heart, I've already made up that would be a sin against God and not her. So first, you need to just find a man who has the number one thing, loves God, has a community that supports your conviction. So that means he needs to have a conviction.
I want to, and before we get to the super chat, I want to ask you this, because I think this is an important question. And I think this is where women might be at a battle, because I don't know if a lot of the brothers that are in that community look like this brother sitting right here.
Just about to say that.
Because
Yeah.
a lot
I wanna hear from
of
Dozy
women
Yeah, you tell us,
are
Dozy.
attracted to the toxic warriors.
They are.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
just the reality of the situation.
Absolutely.
They see safety in him. They see excitement in him.
Yes.
They see adventure in him. They see spontaneity in him. They see all of these things that just naturally get them pheromones going, right? And when they see these brothers surrounded by these pure brothers,
yeah,
that brother might not necessarily be what really gets it tingling.
yeah, he a little awkward, a little
And
lame.
that's exactly
He don't
what I was
dress
gonna say
well.
too.
Okay, so talk to
it
that.
real with us.
Yeah,
Talk
keep
to
it
that.
real. So it's to Candace's point, a lot of women, that is the man they should look for. The only problem is they don't like that man. And so they're not attracted to that man. They're not interested in man. Because I can point an abstinent man tomorrow.
Yeah.
But will a woman like him? That's questionable. And so the reason I say this is, and it's a sad thing in Christianity, because being abstinent and not taking part in sex does make you a little different than society. And so, and here's why I say this: you're just not as smooth. You're not as relatable to women. You don't have that swag that the women really enjoy, because sexually you're not doing anything. So you don't have that same understanding of a woman's body anymore. Even if you're depriving it, you don't move the same way. And so that thing is what women really enjoy.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you find a man that's been around a woman's body, you find that women can almost feel that and understand that, because he moves a certain way. There's a confidence he has, there's all of that.
Yeah.
And so Christianity doesn't really breed that. And also, when you think about it, in these spaces, a lot of Christian men, they're just not as confident. Like, Christianity paints a shy man. These are not things that women value. And so because of that, these men that are abstaining, if they are, the closer they are to Christ, some of them are so disconnected with life that they're extremely shy. They have this look and this movement that women don't desire. They're not as confident. Sometimes they can't even dress well.
Yeah.
Because they're just so caught up from in the church. So I understand why the women don't desire them. I can't even be mad at it. But those are the men that are abstaining. And so the question is, do the men level up, or do the women just say, hey, I want to be with you, even though you're not what I look for, you're not all of that, I want to be with you. So those are the two things that have to happen.
What's the answer to that question?
But the reality of the situation is, women are like biologically wired to be attracted to certain things.
Absolutely.
So I don't even think it's realistic to ask women to like this guy because he's pure.
Right.
Because if it was really that simple, then I mean, we could snap our fingers and change everything.
Absolutely.
It's really the pressure is always on the brothers. Even when you look at people hate when you look at the animal kingdom example, but is the reality is true. Like the males have to work hard to gain the appreciation and attraction of all. They have to earn the attraction of the women.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that, and it's like that with us too. Like it's on the brothers to be well-rounded, to not necessarily only be focused on purity, but also watch a 30-minute YouTube video on the top 5 shirts you damn need in your closet.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Matter of fact, we about to partner with the purity group of brothers. And we about to get them brothers right.
Please. That's why it's called holistic purity, though, because it's not just about what you do. It's about like literally like every aspect of who you are, being a person that's desirable. You can be attractive and desirable without actually having sex. And I mean, I think that men, I would love for you to start that group.
Oh, don't be stuttering. What you gotta say?
Right.
But I think that there is an innocence. There is like a part of our the abstinence kind of like concept where people are a little awkward. I was at a
Absolutely,
convention
yeah.
or conference or a book tour or something I was at, and someone stood up and the question that they asked was like, what should I expect on the wedding night if I've never had sex? People don't like to be awkward. Like we hate awkward anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We want chemistry, we want synergy.
Want everything smooth.
Right.
Yeah, we want, hey, what's up? What's pop? Like
We want a vibe.
yeah, we want a vibe, right? That's a vibe, right? And so we don't like this awkward space where I have to get to know you awkwardly sexually. That's lame, right? Like I want to be a master of your body already.
Day
And
one.
day one. And so especially for men, it's like you don't know. Even women who are virgins be wanting men who ain't virgins.
Right.
Because you want an experienced man because you want somebody who know what to do. That ain't godly. Just get yourself together. You're
Exactly.
right. But here's the thing: you have to be willing to encounter some sort of lameness and awkwardness and peculiarity in order to be holy.
Thank you.
You have to.
I'm so glad you said that.
You have to.
I'm so
I can't
glad
be
you said
mad at the
Wow.
man who's like not familiar with the woman's body. What? I'm happy because you had sex with 20 other people before you got to me just so I can feel comfortable with you knowing having swag sexually.
So you saying the women in general should be open to this level of awkwardness, or
They should
I'm
want a
saying-
lane.
No. Hold on.
He's definitely
Don't
a
quote
lane.
me
That's
on
really
that.
what it
That's
is.
not what I
Lane.
said.
Well,
Because that's what they
are
define
you?
as lane.
Yeah,
That's
and
lane. That's
No,
corny.
I'm
That's-
saying sex. I'm saying the smooth, like, hey girl type of thing. We need to be okay with a man who is a little bit more like, I don't want to step over godliness to be smooth. Now, as far as how you dress, there are classes for that. I mean, there's
Yeah,
people who
there's
help
ways to
you
get
with
around
that.
it.
As far as your finance, which men get a lot of confidence from their accomplishments and their abilities and their finances and things like that as well. I think that you can work on all of that. That's stuff that's workable. I think you can go to the dentist and get your teeth aligned. So I don't think you have to come with crooked teeth talking about I'm abstinent and want the woman to love you.
So I
Right?
want to run a poll on this. So give me the top this guy that we're talking about, because I want to ask the women if they'll be open to dating this guy. What
Yeah.
are the top 2 or
That's a good
3
poll.
unattractive qualities?
Ooh,
So that way I
ask
can put
them.
in it. Would you date a guy that has X, Y,
One,
Z?
this dude, because I think what's most important that fellas lack, and one, he cannot communicate well.
yeah,
Like
we
he's not a
don't
good, like
that.
he does not have game. He's not smooth. So how
Okay.
would you? I don't know how you
I
word that.
agree.
Okay, what's another one?
Two,
Lack-
he
lack
probably
of
doesn't
leadership.
dress.
Right. I feel
Dress-
like a
You think leadership? I mean,
leadership, because I
you
mean,
think-
women like an aggressive man. The number
that's
one
not
thing they say-
leadership. That's more. Not what are the alpha women, the word they like to use a lot? What's the word?
alpha.
I'm not aggressive. I'm
Assertive.
assertiveness.
Okay, assertive.
That's the word.
Because
Okay.
they say it's the number one thing they say Christian men are not like
They're passive.
they don't right. You
They're
see what I
passive.
mean? Like that's what they normally say. So
Yeah.
So
I don't blame
and
And what's the
honestly,
third one?
And is his dress? Is it dress?
I
Have you
don't- I
ever
don't
seen a
think it's
swaggy
dress. I
version?
think it's one we like really tall and short got us in a chokehold. I think tall men got us in a chokehold actually.
Yeah, but I can't say because he's tall, he's gonna.
But
be
I need the women to
gonna be a slut.
understand. Let me look at the camera. Where the camera? Listen, we got to let some of the height go, because some of us will not date a short man who has all the other stuff.
Oh no, of course.
So
That's a
this-
whole nother conversation.
So you see how I was trying to make it practical back to what Canden was saying, where I was like, listen, if you got a man that's willing to
Yeah,
wait,
Confidence.
like,
confidence. Is
That's it, Ryan.
confidence, that's
That's
true.
what
That
That's
brother
true, that's
is
true,
working
confidence.
on his confidence.
Yeah, confidence.
That's what he's working on. That's probably the best
Right,
word.
right.
And that's good because he's not getting his confidence from all the women he slept with.
But see, the reason that's not good though is because he should be getting that confidence from his community.
he should.
So see, that's the thing. If you're not gonna get it from and that's one of the beauties of sports,
Right.
because a brother could find his swag in some sports
Absolutely.
because
that's true.
he's
Like,
around other
that's
great
true.
men and he's better than these men.
Right.
So what you're saying is, we
Yeah,
need
but
to
you know what comes with
find
sports? The
athletes.
Wolfpack mentality comes with sports.
Yeah,
It comes
the
with
conqueror.
fraternities. It comes with all of
you're
that stuff.
100% right. But still, what I'm saying is that's a way for a brother to be able to know that he's the man without going through women to find that out.
I mean, to be honest, his identity should be rooted in Christ. And when I say that, I mean, people think, oh, my identity is rooted in Christ, and it's like it's passive. No, your identity should be rooted in Christ. And if you read that word, you should know, listen, I'm that man.
Invincible.
God said.
But why are they not like that then?
That's how I was. And so when people like, how are you a virgin? In my head, I was that man. You couldn't tell me nothing. So when peer pressure came, when people came, I was with whatever because I was that man. But people don't really know who they are in Christ. And so when you don't read your word, when you don't pray, you don't know your relationship. That means I got to base it on money. I got to base this on women. I got to base this on all this stuff. Now, if I'm a Christian in church and I know God, but I don't really know him. I didn't really read my word. I don't really apply him to my life. Then I don't have no girls, no money, no nothing to give me juice. I'm just timid and passive now. So that's the issue with Christian men, because they're like, I love the Lord, but you really don't have a real relationship with him. He's not real to you like that. He's just something you go to.
And let's be honest, men don't get a lot of affirmation outwardly, except from women. Women that are romantically interested in them.
That's a good point.
What I'm saying is, like, as a friend, and this is why co-ed friendship is really important, is because I can look at my friends and be like, "Oh, that lineup is kind of that's kind of nice." Like, you know what I'm saying?
But I don't mean to cut you off, but we're talking about something a lot deeper here, about because a man's confidence can't even come from a woman's compliment. Like, it has to come from something so much deeper. And I agree that you're talking about either it can come from him conquering women. Trust me, I've seen dudes get swag, like feel really like they're the man.
It
that
comes
way.
from levels of achievement and understanding,
exactly,
and knowing and wisdom.
And see, that's the thing. The problem is, if a man is deeply having a community in church and he's not finding that, I find that to be a really big issue.
Right.
And I think that actually speaks of the leadership of those organizations.
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely weak leadership, which is why even me personally, when I think of the spiritual leaders that I can even watch and they have my adoration, these are like men.
They speak to men.
These are like men that I like. Absolutely. I'm in complete submission and reverence to these men, because I know that that's a man's man that I want to be like. I can't, even if you're a pure, holy Christian man, but I think you soft or weak, I can't receive your message.
Well, see, those messages come from, because this is the thing, to grow because it's the churches were female dominated.
Right.
So to grow the congregation, a lot of the pastors, they cater to women.
Absolutely.
So whether it's the spiritual context, everything is to women. So the thing is, to when you speak to men, it's very decisive. It's very clear.
Right.
It's we going this way, we're going that way. It's no in between. But that's why they have this non-denomination, like these churches that are non-denominational are growing, because these churches are becoming more tolerant, and it's to get more women and to appease women. So that creates a culture to where if the men are a part of these churches, they're still not getting the level of leadership and instruction to make them that whole male. So they end up being abstinent or celibate or virgins, but they socially awkward without the other stuff.
They're
But
soft.
I liked what Ty. I think
men
Tyshawn did a good job of saying about community and about something deeper. But I think the one thing I just want to mention quickly is what I was getting at is it's important to have the outside affirmation. But if you don't have the outside affirmation, it's important that we stop underestimating prayer. Because a lot of my confidence it comes from people saying, "Hey, you did a great job. That was wonderful. That was awesome." But a lot of my confidence comes from reading the word and hearing, like, you are the head and not the tail. Like, you are above, like, before you were formed in your mother's womb, the Lord knew you and predestined you. Like, a lot of my confidence either comes from the words he said, but also from a place where I'm sitting. And I think we have a really weird perspective on prayer. Like, we think we should always be talking. And it's to the point now where I do talk. And sometimes I speak in heavenly language, or I'll just talk plainly. But it's a lot of times when I'm sitting in prayer, I am hearing. And what I'm hearing is, you got it. You can do it. You can go further. You don't have to give in. Like, what I'm hearing is encouragement and edification in that place. So I do think it's highly important that men have the communities and the churches. And that's a standard that I would set, just because you need to know how to deal with people in relationship, so that when we get married, you're not leaving and abandoning. You're not getting so angry because you're not used to being in relationship with people and receiving from them. And because iron sharpens iron, but also there's a private, secret, one-on-one relationship with the Lord that we have access to 24/7, even when the church is shut down. And a lot of us are not pulling from that place because we learned we got to know how to pray this way, or we're not spending intentional time. And the one thing I do like about Islam, and I'm not a Muslim by any means because I serve Jesus Christ only, but the one thing I do like about it is that they actually intentionally pause their day several times a day.
They do.
We do not, as Christians, let us get a pause, because what we're looking for a lot of times is when people call in to these lines and they're asking for questions, they're asking these questions, and they're really, it's really great to get that human leadership insight. It's really great to get that content that you can consume. But if you're not spending any designated time getting rebuilt from being dragged in this earth by all that the world is doing, if you're not spending intentional time letting the Holy Spirit himself say, you got this, like there's nothing that can, you are a stable mind and man, you are a stable woman. Like there's nothing that can jilt you. Like receive edification from me now. Let me build you. The only reason why Jesus was able to fast 40 days and 40 nights and be under intense temptation with God and tell the devil, no, I will not eat that after having nothing. I will not turn a stone into bread, is because he has spent intentional time before that, for that 40 days alone in the wilderness. So even if you don't have the community, because a lot of men are like, well, I grew up around so-and-so and I didn't have no good examples. There's high level leaders today that will tell you that they don't have community, which is absolutely insane, right? A lot of people are lonely. And so even if you don't have that, you have your Bible and you have your room and your privacy where you can pray and say, Lord, am I supposed to be having sex?
And see, that's the thing too. Like reading, you're right, because when you read, what essentially ends up happening, the authors of those books become your leaders, and that still becomes your leadership. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the reality of the situation is, it's statistically proven most of the world does not read. So you even saying read your Bible, true. That's even, people are more likely to watch the Harley Initiated podcast before they read.
Wow.
And see, the thing about it is that, and I'm not against that. That's why it's important for us to be a positive example. But for men, especially, that confidence that women like love to see and feel in men, like a man truly has to evolve that. And he really has to groom that over the years. And that's something he needs through leadership. If he can get it in a book, hopefully, which is the most ideal, if he can get that leadership in real life, right? If he can get that leadership through an audio, through a podcast, whatever. Sports. But and we know it, like we all of men have saw a man we have absolute reverence for, and there is this level of submission we completely go under.
So you're saying that in order to refine himself in all those areas where he can show up confidently, he can show up as the leader, he actually needs to see representation of that in real life.
Because it's taught.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, you have to really, in this life, you have to learn who you are.
Got you.
That's the thing. You really have to learn who you are. And because we are born that guy, we just don't know it.
Got it.
And we learn it through us. You either uncover it through readings spiritually, through other mentorship and men, whether you reading other success books, through achievement in your life. And if you can't figure it out there, that's when you start going dark.
Right.
That's when you have to conquer everything around you now figure it out.
It's also about what the information that the community puts out to attract. That's why I talk about the church not catering to men, because like even with us, we got this platform. Now we know to get more men, we've been learning the different things that we need to talk about. Divorce gets more men to our channel. Sexual health and sex get more men to our channel. Masculine leadership gets more men to our channel. So to even get more men, now we have to recruit and we have to tailor our conversations to talk about that. Now, let me ask you this, Tyshawn, what's your favorite thing to learn about in church? And then I'm gonna share with you mine.
I mean, that's a really good question. As of recent, it's been purpose.
So now that's a good one, right? That's the one that I feel like is not covered enough in church. But mine's just prosperity. Prosperity is masculine content. Many churches completely stay away from even talking about prosperity. So that's so one of my Pastor Ike, one of my favorite, Reverend Ike, one of my favorite pastors, because he talk about money. Creflo talks about money. Now, this is the thing. It's many other things that I would love to learn about, navigating trauma and forgiveness and all of these things. But you got to cater the content to what's going to get the men in the church.
Leadership.
That's another one that's not.
Man, Miles Monroe was greatest ever.
Which is why he had a lot of men in his congregation, which is why Creflo have a lot of men in his congregation. You do have to have a variety, but you also have to, it's also marketing.
Right.
Right.
And when the church is tailored to women like that, what happens is the real men, or the men that women will be attracted to, leave.
They do.
Yep.
And so now they have nobody to choose from. And so now they're choosing from the men who are actually more feminine in nature or more comfortable with femininity. And so now that's unhealthy. And the women see that. I don't blame the women for not wanting them, but I understand why the men that really rock as men, that are masculine, leave. The environment doesn't allow them to grow.
Absolutely.
And so I often tell women all the time, because they're like, how do you love the Lord, all this and that? Why aren't men in there? I said, I don't blame that man for not going to your church. I see your church. I wouldn't go there. And I love the Lord as well. And so I often tell people, like, listen, if you're a minister, like a lot of these people think just because he's a man talking that he's masculine. A lot of these ministers be gay. Like,
oh my
let's
God.
be very clear. A lot
He's
of them
going
be gay,
tonight.
and you see that. And real men see that.
And damn, he just went there. But see, and see, when I even outside of that, right? It's not even, it's like the message. It's like the message is not like, I don't want to say it's not for us, but it's not empowering to a man. If you, because there's a certain way you empower a man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I've had messages that were specifically empowering to men. Mm-hmm. And if you even think about it, that's why like a lot of pastors might do specials for men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they do specials for men because like it's certain things that can activate a man.
And shout out to Dr. Darius Daniels, who just had his made men program over there. Specifics, and it was very serious from what I understand.
It was very serious. He's doing some phenomenal things over there, which he's about to be on the show as well in a few weeks. But see, the thing about it is like, and he talked about, and he went actually deep on it. He talked about how there was literally a feminization of Christ and how he looks, how they put makeup on him, how they softened his features, how they did these things to really, in many ways, that image alone kept many men away from the image of Christ. Because he said the dude was a carpenter, dude had calloused hands. He should have been like looking hardcore. Was really how the image of him actually should have looked. Which all of that he talked about, there was intentionality that pushed men away. So all of that has a lot to do with when women are saying, why are there not men in the church? Right. And the men in the church, why are the men in the church not the most desirable men?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Well, first we have to learn how to desire the fruits of the spirit. Honestly, we're a little superficial with our desires. There's preferences and there's standards.
That's fair.
Okay. And so a lot of us are making preferences standards, right? Like she has to be X, he has to be Y.
Well,
I do think that we need to.
Where in the Bible does it say that you have to desire the fruits of the spirit for a husband?
No. Listen, I'm not saying that you have to. I'm saying it is wisdom to think about the inward things rather than just the outside things. Like, so for example, I'm saying when they ask the question, what should you look for? And Dr. Miles Monroe actually answers this really good too. I think he has a video for men and for women about what they should be looking for.
And I know you love
Dr. Miles Monroe.
And it's in the library, the Amazon library. We got both of his books, The Purpose of Men,
Purpose Empowerment,
and the women as well.
He does a good job of breaking this down. And I don't remember his, but for me personally, a lot of his were internal. Some of them were external, but few of them were external than internal. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we should be desiring and looking for men specifically, honor, right? Honor is very important to you all. You call it respect, but really it's just honor. It's like the consideration and the high. I think men, even in that same scripture, because I know I talked a lot about what men should be, but we didn't talk about what women should be. In that same passage of scripture where the man should be washing the woman with the word and presenting her to him blameless, the woman, it says actually submit to your husband as to the Lord, which is heavy. That's heavy. Mm-hmm. Like, why am I submitting to a human being in the same in like language as the Lord? That's correct. Why? He imperfect. God, he ain't you, right? Yeah. But the reason why the scripture presents that is because there's a honorable quality that men desire. They desire to be honored, almost worship. I'm gonna be a little controversial here. I'm going to say we women, we call it like ego, but it's really like a high form of honor. And when we say, okay, God sacrificed himself for the church and died for her, and now the church is his bride. And when we mirror marriage to that and we say, okay, now the man is Christ and the woman is church. I like that you're mentioning the reasons why church has been effeminate and why men don't go. But I think part of the reason why they don't is because they have to be the Christ and not the bride. I think part of the reason why they don't go is because they are not used to following. They are used to leading. And anytime you have a headship, because if you think about it, men lead the church. Women are more present and prevalent in the church, but men, the leadership in the church is still primarily men.
Yeah.
I think men, there is an aspect, what you guys all said is true, but there's an aspect of being submitted that's very hard. It's very difficult. If I have to submit to the man as to the Lord, that's me like changing parts of myself in order to do that. And I think the same thing is what God calls us to, all of us, whether men or women. He says, you got to change parts of yourself to not bump heads with me, because it's my will that prevails and not yours. And so I do think that my first point is, I think it's important that we value the fruits of the Spirit, because there is like love, peace, gentleness, self-control. Like those things matter. If I'm self-controlled woman, I'm not going to make life a living hell for you in our house. Like I'm not going to be a contemptuous, like a woman that you don't want to be around. If I'm self-controlled. Now, if I'm emotionally unraveled, but if I'm self-controlled, if I am gentle and you could hear from me, then if I'm aggressive, I think fruits of the Spirit are helpful, even on the man's side of like, if he gently corrects me, he may gently correct me, right? But he still is like, are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Sets me back when I was wilding out. Or if he's like, I self-controlled in the way that he handles me, if he's kind. Some men be like, yeah, she not getting no chicken dinner. Women not getting no chicken dinner. We going Dutch on everything. I'm not paying for no more women. If you are willing to be kind and sacrifice, not being run over or taken advantage of, that's why being well vetted is important.
I think. See, because we've been neglecting these super chats.
Sorry,
the conversation has been good.
Well, it's been really good. The thing is, I don't know how long we're gonna keep y'all. We running
up.
On the last 30,
do we have?
minutes.
Is it the last 30 minutes? How y'all feeling?
I'm feeling we fine. Good.
Hey, let's run this.
Okay,
let's run it tonight. But I want to ask this right before we get to the super chat, because I think, or I don't even know if I'm asking anything. I think it's just worth being stated. I don't know that.
Yeah, like the callers.
I don't think that men truly have an issue with submission. Believe it or not.
No? I agree.
Because we constantly are in submission to great men our entire lives.
Okay.
Let a boy get on a team, he instantly submits to his coach. Let a man go into a class where he has great respect for his teacher, he instantly submits to his teacher. We actually crave submission to great men, because that's typically where most of our development comes. And there's no other, I promise you, as a young man, there is no other feeling of fulfillment and absolute confirmation that you are doing something right than when a man that you absolutely respect tells you that, son, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, for sure.
That was something you are absolutely doing the right things.
Yeah.
And it's typically the men that you're in submission to. What it is we have to respect what we're in submission to.
Okay.
And then we will openly submit, because that is where our growth is. In men. Men who don't submit are usually the losers. All men who typically have elevated to certain heights submitted to another man's leadership, or something else higher than them leadership in order to get there. That's the only way you ascend in the masculine journey. So the thing about it is, it's not that men are afraid to submit. I don't think
they're afraid. I think you mentioned submission, but you also mentioned submission with affirmation. The reason why I started to say that men don't receive affirmation is because when you have submission without affirmation, it feels a little like oppression. And in the church, you can have that. You can have leaders, and those people are hailed as like the main people, and everyone else is not really they're submitted, but they're not getting the affirmation. And I don't think they're staying around for that.
I don't think it's that. I agree with you that men don't have a problem submitting. It's the men don't want to submit to the other men in the church.
Right.
And that's the problem. So the leadership in the church, as men, I always tell people, as men, we see other men. When I say women's intuition, men can discern other men no matter what. And so we see what the pastor's doing. We see the way you're moving. We see how you're catering to the women. We don't want to submit to that. And so when you have that, you have a lot of men like, I'm good. I don't want to submit to you. I don't blame them. They should.
Because like he said, you don't respect it.
We don't respect you. We don't like how you're moving. We can't copy you. If we can't copy you, we're not going to stay here.
Got you.
Yeah. Let's get to the super chats now, though.
Cool.
'cause
I'm ready. Let's get it popping. So shout out to C for joining the membership. Listen, I can tell we're having a great conversation
Facts.
because everybody is really engaged in this. So this is
that's a
good.
fact.
And we got over 1,100 people, guys. I don't know if we hit 1,200 or not, but 1,200 would technically, I think, right?
I think 1250 the most.
1250. Okay.
1250
Yeah.
most
So
we've
let's
had.
listen. While we got this last 30, 40, maybe
Share
I don't
this
know,
thing.
I don't know how long y'all hanging out.
Maybe
But
30, 40.
okay, cool. Listen, share as many people as possible so we can hit 1,200.
And like this joint, because there's a lot of people in here that still hasn't hit that like button for us.
We got a lot of comments too. Shout out to Wifey. She says, thank you. I love this panel and topic. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to Lydia Weir. She says, God created sex for only marriage, and that's why we should try our best to abstain to marriage. She's wow, Lydia, this is crazy. This is different. She's 55 and still a virgin. Shout out to the UK.
Whoa.
Shout out to my girl Lydia.
Wow.
Yeah, I would love to get Lydia on the phone call.
Wait,
First off, it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the UK right now, by the way.
55
It
is
is.
still
She
a
up late.
virgin?
Yeah, Lydia, listen, we actually are working on a toll-free number so we can have our international callers. So be patient with us while we get that rocking for
What
you.
the hell? Send us an email on
need to
that, because
talk about
that to
that.
me is not a testimony that I'm
Right.
I'm concerned about that testimony.
Listen, shout out to
you feel me?
we got to
Like,
talk about that. Shout out to Yali. She says, I think there are several
Shout
men
out
who
to you,
abstain
lady.
for sex, but they don't admit it due to fear of being judged by other men.
They do.
Very interesting. Shout out to Selena. A lot of comments. She says she loves this conversation is being had. She says, please consider going on tour. Selena, we got something in the works. Just be patient with us. I want to go ahead and go to this poll, then I go back to the chats. Ladies only. We dropped this poll 20 minutes ago. We almost got 300 votes. Okay. Ladies only. Would you date a guy who is socially awkward, lacks confidence, and I don't even know why we asked this question.
Why? Because they wouldn't.
And lacks assertiveness. This is
Yeah,
a
we
silly
wouldn't.
question that they
It
gave me
is.
to send you guys. And
What?
clearly, 99% of people said no. No, I'm
Absolutely
joking.
not.
It's 77% of people said no. Of course you wouldn't. So we gotta figure out how we can bring
bridge the gap.
this wholesomeness. Yeah, bridge the gap. All right.
Please bridge the
That
gap.
was a
Make them
crazy
pure,
question.
pure with some swag.
Yeah. Can we get a little?
Yes. So,
Sprinkle it.
shout out to Sarita. Let me say shout out to Sarita because Sarita sent over a super chat earlier. She did the super chat. I told her she got to hit that 10. She sent it over.
Aw.
Listen,
Sarita's
Shout out to
beautiful
the
too.
lady.
Honestly, yo,
yo,
what's
listen,
going on? Yo,
listen,
drop
listen.
the IG.
I'm
Yo,
telling you.
God.
Fellas,
What?
hey, we got him in here,
Who
fellas.
said
Drop
it? Who said
the
it?
IG.
I need a little baby that's gonna listen. I forgot who said that. That's what. Look. So y'all should do a workshop or something for men who are abstinent or virgin, so that they can be more socially secure and comfortable.
That's
Yes,
actually
would
not a bad
absolutely
idea.
consider
That's
that.
dope.
So let me
not a
throw
bad
this
idea.
question to Dozy real quick. Shout out to Nashay. She says, and just give it quick because I think we kind of talked about this a bit.
All right.
Love this. Let's say a woman lives an abstinent lifestyle until marriage. She starts dating a great man, but he jokes and tests that she will break in time. So pretty much she's gonna eventually give it up. When does she know it's a lost cause?
I mean, she should decide that, but I'm not gonna hold you. If he keeps pressing that button, it's time for him to go. Like, that's her decision to find out when she feels that's the right time.
That makes sense. Shout out to Adult Talk. She says, where is the father figure in her life to vet this man? Women don't choose men well. It's based on how he makes her feel. If he wants sex, he will lie. Men vet other men differently. Waiting for sex makes her a goal. So I guess I'm gonna turn that into a question. When is the right time, Canden? Because Canden's looking at you and these faces.
No, sorry.
Cannon got them faces,
yeah,
boy.
Yeah. I'm thinking in my mind.
Because that was a loaded statement. So I'm
was.
gonna turn. Yeah.
It was. It came from a certain.
It
place.
came from a certain
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
but I'm gonna ask you a question. So, because I do think that women can sometimes, make an emotional decision or lead with their heart rather when
Yeah.
making a decision about
Mhm.
man. So, what man in the woman's life, and when should she introduce that man to that significant other to whoever this other man in
The
her
father
life that she
figure.
trusts? Is the father figure? Is that the one? Because let's be real, the father figure is not always
Yeah.
involved.
Right.
So when should she introduce the man to a man she trusts?
I like this question because I think men are wildly important in a community aspect outside of romance. I feel like you need to have them around your friends almost immediately. I feel like I think father figures are great. I think there's a time to introduce family and that sort of thing. It needs to be that you guys see something. If it's just you come from a family oriented background, I think anyone can come over as a friend. But I think you should have him around the male figures in your life almost immediately, because they're gonna be like, all of all of the men in my life will tell me certain little things that'll be like, yeah, he wasn't comfortable. Or like, why didn't they'll ask me a question like, have you guys talked about X? And I'll be like, oh wow, I never, even being here with you guys and hearing some of the responses to the things that you guys are saying, I'm actually learning like to decode like a man. You know what I mean? And so I think it's helpful to have men around other men in every circumstance. Like I think whether it's your brother, whether it's your uncle, your dad, whether it's just your male friends, whether it's your pastor, I think you should have the man around your community. I do not think you should go on an OTR tour the second week that you know somebody talking about it's me and them against the world. Like invite them to church, invite them to the small group. Don't change your routine. If you go to somewhere on Friday nights, invite them to experience it with you, even if it's a Zoom thing. See how if they are engaged, if they interact, see what other people think about them. And here's the thing, when you are confident and you know who you are as a person and someone says something to you in your community, you know to chew the fat and spit out the bones. So a lot of people don't want the pressure of letting other people know, like, I'm dating this person, because they don't want to deal with the scrutiny or like, there's too many people in my ear, I don't know how I feel. No. You know who you are. And I know when someone tells me something, I'm like, oh, that's Holy Spirit led. I definitely feel accountable. I feel sharpened, or like, they're speaking from a place of hurt. You know what I mean?
I get it.
So you don't have to be overwhelmed. I think immediately, like I was at an event a couple months ago and my guy friend was there and another guy was like, is that your boyfriend? I didn't even really know the other guy well, but I was just doing the event with him. And he asked me, he was like, is that your boyfriend? And I was like, no, he's just a friend. He was like, oh, okay. And it was like, he was watching. It was like, men have a way of like understanding each other to kind of get more information that we're not really privy to. Sometimes we could just be in our heads with our emotions and feel like, oh, I like him. So because I like him, we are a good couple and we should go further. Not practically speaking, do we align well? And is he actually here for me?
They lean with the heart. They need to bring some thinking.
So because of that, let me tell you what we're gonna do, ladies. We're gonna do, look, Harley initiated. We're gonna have a vet your man segment. All right. Send us his IG. Send us his IG.
Like
we're gonna pull him up.
You
tell us about this man, and we're gonna vet this brother out for you. Because y'all, listen, we missing fathers and big brothers. We got you, baby. All right?
I really
members
like
only.
that.
Members only.
Yes, I really like that. But I want to talk about talk about the dark side of celibacy.
Okay.
And I want to start with Dozy, because Dozy, I'm not gonna lie, man.
He'll tell you about it.
Sometimes I'll be a little pressed, man. It's like kind of like you don't know what's really wrong with you, and then you go get a massage, and then all of a sudden you just feel really good.
Yeah.
But sometimes sex works for me like that. I'm like, I'm not really sure why I'm so irritable right now.
Right.
Or then I, get a little sex, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling back to normal. Right. So is it possible that it could be some negative, like psychological effects from abstaining?
Absolutely. Like, so one thing we spoke about was just when people are abstaining, they disconnect from society. And so one thing I've noticed is that when people abstain, they think you first off, you think you're really strong when you're not dating nobody. Yeah, that's one thing. Like a misconception of I'm holy, I'm not dating nobody, I'm Gucci, right? The moment you meet somebody, you fall. Now you go into a depression, and it's like, hold on, you were doing this to honor God, but you met somebody, you fell immediately. That means you weren't really aligned. You weren't really doing it for the right things. And so that's one thing that happens from abstaining. Also, I've noticed that people get so caught up in abstinence, they forget marriage. And so the reality is that's why when the shorty said she was 55, I'm not coming for her, but I'm like, hey, let's be real. You did something wrong.
What's the goal here?
Well, we're working on it. That's why Lydia, she tuned in. So you basically saying, so what could she have been missing along the journey?
Right. So I'm even talking about myself. I'm 32. I did something wrong.
Wow.
I should have been married. Right. And so I'm a virgin, but I should have been married. What was I doing this whole time in the streets of life that I'm a virgin and not married? I'm pure, but the job was to be married. So in between this time, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, yo, I fell short sometimes. So let's be fair, right?
That's real.
He was purely in these streets.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I tell people, like, we get so caught up on abstinence, we don't forget. So at a certain point in my life, I was like, oh, I didn't care about marriage. I was like, I'm gonna get married at some point. I just didn't put any pressure in it. I'm thinking I'm waiting for the Lord, like I'm Gucci. It's not till I got older, I was like, oh, I gotta pay attention. Like, I've always had women coming at me. So I was like, oh, You start talking with them and you're like, oh, you guys are not quality. I can't actually marry you. But I was so in my head, I was like, I always have so much opportunity. There's always a lot of women. I was false. That's time wasted. My fault, mistake. I was chasing the wrong type of woman. You feel me? Like, obviously you go to the league, you're exposed to a lot of women. You feel me? So you dating these voluptuous, bodies made up type shorties, you talking to them, and then you realize, oh, you're not wife quality. Time wasted. And so all of this stuff I have to be accountable for. And so what I'm saying is I'm 32. I did something wrong. I've been on this earth 32 years as a virgin. That's not a come up. Like, I have to honor and realize, like, yo, I made a mistake in this process. I need to change my mind and work on this, but I shouldn't be adding years to this if the goal is marriage.
So you might be so caught up in abstinence that you don't even put in the work to find you that person.
For sure. I tell people all the time, they're like, what do you do when you're waiting till marriage? You should be focusing on becoming a spouse. I was not focused on becoming a husband. So what am I was waiting and not focused on becoming a husband. I'm wasting my life. Why the heck am I waiting then? Wow. So for people that are like waiting till marriage, your main focus is how can you become a spouse? That's your main focus. And so a lot of people, what's toxic about it is what I've noticed is when people are having sex, they end up having so much sex. They're like, bruh, I just want to be with one person to get married. Like, I've been out here for a while. People that are waiting, you see so many Christians, they're like, I'm abstinent, and they're not healthy. They're not good spouses. So this whole time you abstinent and you about to fail in life. You only
know one part of it.
You only know one part. Congratulations, you conquered the self-control part. But the communication, you trash. The dealing with the other person, you trash. You get what I mean? So we can get caught up in make abstinence an idol. And you're like, oh, I'm pure, so I'm good. I'm a great spouse. I meet so many people who are like, I wait till marriage. I'm amazing. Like, I'm that person. No, you're not. You rude. You don't even know how to deal with somebody. So that's a issue that happens a lot.
It's like the person who only focuses on getting money, but they didn't focus on any other thing.
Absolutely.
I never thought about that.
It's a self-righteousness with waiting till
and
marriage.
You know what that and see, man, that just shows how dynamic life is. Right. Like, in order to even obey the word of God is to be dynamic.
Right.
Like, in order to just be great in general is to be dynamic. There's no one thing you can be great at and be great. So that's the tricky thing about this is, don't get me wrong, sex is a major part of your life to master. And shout out to the people that do. Even shout out to Lydia for having that self-control, because that's been something I have not been able to display.
And for even sharing that. And shout out to you for identifying that there may be an issue and then just being open and sharing that with us. Because I wouldn't have thought that you actually, at this point, it's so funny. Because when you was like, you were 30-year-old virgin, I immediately thought, wow, how great.
Right.
Can't believe it. But you're like, it's so much things that I missed out on that I should have been focusing on.
Yeah.
That was really...
Yeah, because the goal is to
did not expect that.
Also get a family, be fruitful, multiply, raise up, the next generation, and to do those all other things in order to really have success. It doesn't stop at abstinence.
Right. And so when we talk about marriage, a lot of people make a mistake of, I want to be pure. Well, if we're talking about marriage, purity is actually having sex with your spouse. And so we forget this when we're talking about purity, and we leave it at not having sex. Now, when you get married, purity is actually having sex with your spouse. If your mind is wired to purity, not having sex, that's a problem. And that's what happens to a lot of Christians. And that's the danger of waiting till marriage when you don't understand it God's way.
That's a good point. Purity is having two married people having sex is like the most pure. That's the most pure.
So people don't know that.
Ken, let me. I want to ask Canden.
Why can't I make that face when I said that?
Listen, I'm taking it all in.
I am too.
God, I'm taking it all in.
Now, Canden, you mentioned 10 years no masturbation.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it's around that. Maybe a little longer.
Now, I'll be honest. From time to time, I have a vigorous session.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not embarrassed to say it. It's a human thing. We all make mistakes, But I'm just curious if I was to take it out of my life, because now when I know when I do it, it's something I'm not doing. So I'm like, when I go to masturbating, I'm like, okay, it's been a few days since I worked out. Man, I probably fell off my routine, and because it's just this idle space in your mind where you like, you know what, it's time to masturbate. But when you keep this away, right, you don't masturbate. isn't it like, I guess, other temptation that you might end up falling into? Or
Quite the opposite.
or you just take out sex in general. You know what I'm saying? Isn't it other things that you could potentially run into?
Yeah, I'll give you one. Sugar. I'll give you
Sugar.
one sugar. So for me, it's gonna either be it's gonna be sex or sugar. Like,
That's real.
okay, so
Wow.
yeah. No, and a lot of women, I will say this, a lot of women redirect that energy. And even you, so let me see, how can I say this?
Destructively redirect the energy.
You can redirect the energy in a way that leads to mismanagement in other areas of your life. So if you have a lot of self-control sexually, but you have no self-control with food, that's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big one. I love sugar, and I noticed that when I'm not experiencing affection, for me, I don't think it's necessarily about the sex part. I think it's about the affection and the companionship. Then I usually will go to the refrigerator, just because that's the comfort that it is that I'm looking for. That's the most similar. Because when you have a sexual experience, it's a lot of chemical releases, it's dopamine, it's pleasure chemicals releasing. You can do this. You can experience the same thing when you see your favorite color or you eat your favorite food. Those same chemicals are released. So I think, people can substitute one vice for another. But I'm glad that you pinpointed, though, Ryan, the fact that when you are masturbating, you're probably, or when you start to masturbate, you're like, there's something else. There's some other way that I could be directing this energy.
Right.
I feel like I work with a lot of people who struggle with masturbation and porn. I feel like the way that we can redirect that energy is, the workouts are great, all of that stuff. The purpose aspect of that is really, really important. Because a lot of times I just don't want to look at my bills, or I don't want to manage my money, or I don't want to do my budget. And so I'm going to find something on, just like I find something on TV that's terrible to watch, I could go to my room and masturbate. The thing about it is helpful to remember that, one, for men, masturbation is not super good for semen retention.
Right.
That's helpful to understand. And then also the other thing is, in order to be a self-controlled person, like you're in a training camp where you're trying to learn something. If you're going to submit yourself to abstinence, let's just say you've never been abstinent before, right? Or you have maybe for a week and then you stopped, If you're going to submit yourself to it, I want you to go hard in that thing, right? Meaning you can't just get a release whenever you want. Even if it's not with a woman, you're still getting a release, right? It's helpful to train yourself up in the way of sexual discipline and just discipline in general when you're not masturbating all the time. Because essentially now you are retraining your thinking from women to, I can just fulfill my need whenever I want. And that goes back to God's intention for sex, is that the woman fulfills that need for you, specifically your wife. Yeah. So let's say your woman stops fulfilling that need for you. Now you're a master masturbator. You just gonna go there. You're not gonna try to work out the sex with your woman.
Right. Master.
I'm saying it's counterintuitive for us to do the work of having a great sex life in our marriage if there are other escapes.
Yep.
And we practice that in singleness. And we also do not practice the last fruit of the spirit, which is self-control. When we masturbate, when we have the urge, you can resist the temptation, but most people don't do the work in order to get to the place where they are. It's just like, this is the easiest thing. I don't have to deal with STDs. I don't have to deal with attitudes. So this is what I'm going to do, as opposed to saying, hey, let's actually really abstain. Sugar is killing my life, whether it's Splenda, Sweet and Low, agave.
Let me I want to know your opinion about
the
this.
Noodles, the little
because
noodles.
Yeah, and by the way, before I get to my question, I got a 19-year-old producer back there, Delano. Listen,
first off,
I need you to be paying attention to this conversation here, man.
Listen, at 19, like I told Delano, I said me and Ty already know what's going on.
Right. Ryan was like, you hard half the day.
Wow. 19 years old.
Why y'all doing that?
Hey, so but listen, though, all jokes aside, when it comes to, I want to ask y'all opinion of this, because me and Ryan, we know, I am not gonna say this brother's name for this, but there's a friend of mine who is married, but frequently masturbates.
Okay.
And the reason he does this is because he uses this as a way to stay loyal, because his whole ideology is, if I masturbate, like, because he's high testosterone, high sex drive, often like was a big unfaithful guy in the past, but now masturbation is how he stays pure. And when I say stay pure, I mean not want to go out and do some nonsense. He says that's how he gets it all out of his system, and he said he's absolutely proud of it.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts? Do you think, and this is a little bit of a twist on masturbation here, because this is in marriage.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on somebody using masturbation as a
To stay
tool
faithful.
to stay faithful and to not, and to, because my man Lil Wayne said, it's like, soon as I come to my senses.
Yeah.
And he's using that. He's using that as a way to make sure he doesn't, he said, I don't want to bring no problems. I want to keep peace in my home, and it's how I do it. What's your thoughts on that?
Shoot.
You got some?
I mean, the Bible says abstain from sexual morality. That's the scripture, bottom line in the word of God. If masturbation is an imitation sex, then I don't think it honors God in any way, right? And
Even when you're married?
Even when you're married, see, that's a sticky situation. I actually don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
If I'm being very real, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about when you're married, but I can say that if he's doing that to be faithful, why not have a conversation with his wife to have sex with her more if he's married?
You know, the thing about it is, I'm gonna be honest with you, because even as men, the reality of the situation is we'll always desire more than one
Right.
woman. Like, that's just sexually we will.
For sure, right.
So I don't think this has anything to do with him having a lack, from what he communicated to me, because I asked that question too.
Right.
It sounds like they're having relatively healthy sex,
Right.
but the desire is just beastly.
His desires for more sex or his desires for masturbation? Because how some dudes like masturbating more than sex sometimes. Like,
Desires for more, just more sex.
just more sex, and his wife is just not give it to him.
I don't think it's that. I think it's the frequency in which he wants to feel that. I don't know if maybe she's available or she's humanly even possible to give her. So here's the thing though. I don't want to say this light. I don't want you to take this lightly when I say this, but it's possible sex addiction there. Possible. Because
sex or masturbation addiction, is that the same thing?
It's the same thing, because
Okay.
either way you're finding a way to release the tension that comes with you being aroused.
Okay.
Right. So I think there's possibly some sex addiction that maybe he would want to work through as far as mind renewal and some different areas. I think he should kind of consider. I mean, I know it's very tough, because it's like telling a person to go work on an aspect where they don't see that there's a problem because they have solved it in a way.
Right.
I want to respect the fact that this man is trying to safeguard his marriage by doing masturbation as opposed to the greater evil. Right.
Yeah.
I also don't think masturbation in marriage is 100% wrong, because I think the Lord requires us to. I know.
I don't know.
This is going to
So
be.
I don't
This
even
is
know.
going to be tricky. This is going to be tricky.
They're gonna drag you.
The
for that
reason
one.
why.
They're gonna drag you
We're
The
gonna have to bring
reason
a
why
masturbation
is
expert up.
because if you are doing something together as men, this is what my Bible says. My Bible says the marriage bed is undefiled.
It's true.
If y'all are both in the marriage bed doing whatever y'all doing, and one like to watch the other one do whatever it is they doing,
It is what it is.
God
right?
bless you. Right? That's wonderful. My thing is that anything sexual should be you and the other person. It should be physically you and the other person together doing the sexual thing. Anytime you take the masturbation into the bathroom and you're like this
When you
person,
start to hide it.
when you're doing it by yourself, you're not involving the
Is
other
he hiding
person.
Huh?
Is he hiding?
I don't know. I,
I mean,
didn't ask
I
that
don't think,
question.
I'm sure he's not
I don't think he's
hiding it. He
hiding.
just go
Yeah.
and do it, and she's just not around.
Yeah.
Right.
But it sounds like he uses it when he's put in maybe a close to compromising situation, or he's aroused by another woman, and maybe he goes and
Yeah.
gets,
And yeah, exactly.
He uses it that
or
way?
he just is like having that feeling where he might, want to. I mean, he might be out of town. He's like, if
Sound
whenever.
like you need a therapist. Sound like you need a
Yes,
therapist,
that sounds
real
like
talk.
addiction
Mm.
to me.
And the reason I say that, the reason I'm saying therapist is if it's an addiction or not, he's using it as a coping mechanism,
Yeah.
and an unhealthy coping mechanism.
That's true.
Got it.
And so he can at least go to therapy to figure that out, because at least he'll understand the root of where it's coming from.
That makes sense.
That's what I was
Because
saying.
there's really no benefits to masturbating. I mean, alone. I mean, outside of the sexual
And
satisfaction.
the clarity of thought, and it not actually messing up his marriage if he really went outside and did some crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's just
In some ways,
it's just so much that the way you train, it's so many negative things that you train in your body and mind to.
Oh, and I agree.
Yeah,
I 100% agree.
Yeah, I think I definitely think it would be helpful for him to seek out why, more so than just him. I mean, I think I want him to keep his marriage intact and be faithful. But also, if he's codependent on masturbation, that is a problem.
Right.
That's a problem.
Man, let me tell you, I threw a random one at y'all, and y'all went ahead and took it. We got some super. We can get ready. Hey, y'all, listen. I want y'all to send your final cohort of super chats in because we about to get these folks home. Get your super chats in right now.
Hey, look.
Y'all want to get in because it's time. It is time to wrap this thing up, y'all. But
so
go ahead.
We run this thing like a radio show, so I will say y'all got some good stamina.
They do
because we just hit the 3-hour mark, so I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the stamina. Now, shout out to Lydia Weir. So Lydia actually, she just hit her 3-month mark as a member, and you know what? Lydia actually just inspired me. So this book is only the only people that can be eligible for this giveaway is not only a member, but you got to be an orange badge.
Ooh,
and I'm gonna give Lydia a book just for being awesome. She don't even have to enter this. I'll give her a book just for being awesome because I do.
And listen,
think
that shipping and handling gonna be a lot going to the UK. So Lydia,
you got that.
You might pay $100. I'm not sure how much that's gonna cost to send this book to the UK.
Nah. We'll get Lydia a book.
Lydia, Lydia, email us so we can get you this book. But Lydia says she want to give y'all some context. So she says, she got a hell of a story. She got married, but on her wedding night, she found out that her husband was impotent.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Hey, no,
So there was no sex, hence she is still a virgin and abstained before marriage. That's wild. And let's just give some context because I know some people might be confused about what impotent is. I actually was a little bit confused. So I looked it up real quick. And it says impotent is abnormally unable to achieve a sexual erection.
Yeah.
But there was no conversation about that prior. He didn't know.
But see,
that's
let me tell you, we had a whole
about.
conversation on this in the past.
Really happens.
And we found out, we did a whole show on erectile dysfunction, and a bunch of women in the same conversation came out and admitted that some of these guys go under the guise of being abstinent, of wanting to wait. And then as soon as it's time when they're married, these women find out these men have erectile issues.
Yeah.
And they cannot have sex.
I'm so happy you're saying this because this goes to the call that I was saying where I was like, listen, if this man is trying to get to know you, he's getting closer to you, and you see his sexual urges coming out, don't throw him away.
Oh,
don't throw him away. Do you see what I mean? Because the opposite is, if you get a man that's, unless it's a miracle from God, if you get a man that's like, oh yeah, nah, never, there's a red flag there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Something going on.
You're telling me you are his wife, and he's like, I want to be with you for the rest of my life, and you haven't done nothing. You don't expect the flame to be going?
And he's meant to, and here's the big thing, though, because you're so right. This is a man who's mentally, spiritually, and physically attracted to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some fire and desire.
Come on, talk about it.
In this brother, even if the passion is going to be there. The passion, right? There's no passion in that brother.
There's and this is why
some biological. It might be some biological issues going on here.
Let me tell you how to tell, ladies.
And people will be
passionate brothers have really big boundaries. If they
I thought this was about to go somewhere else.
Boundaries. Keep your minds pure. Y'all need to purify your minds. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, passionate. Usually men who want to be abstinent, but who have the natural desire and are not impotent, they're gonna be like, you can't come over my house. Because it's 10 p.m. It's a little late, and I'm feeling like I'm about to do something.
Right, but they might slip up here and there.
They might, but they usually will tell you like, get away from me. Now, is it
okay for a woman to touch the man's erection just to make sure it's there?
Why?
Because to make sure it because
why are you asking?
That's the thing. No, I'm not even joking.
Go to the doctor to get your erection
I swear to God, I'm not joking. There was at least 6 or 7 women in that one, and this was when it was only like 600 people in this chat.
That's happened.
All said they had to get an annulment because he could not. Was it consummate the marriage?
Yes, because he could not consummate.
Because he could not. They literally got annulment.
It was more than 6 women, by the way.
Tap it. You're not allowed to like.
So here's the thing: there's this whole sweatpants ministry. There's a lot of stuff.
Sweatpants ministry.
No. There's a lot
That's
of
kinda
things
wild.
for us that we can see. I would not recommend touching it, ladies, because the touch can lead in other places. But I'm saying I think we got to normalize smaller penises. We need to normalize being okay. Some men have small penises. Some men have smaller penises. Just like women have breasts. Let's compare to like women are different breast sizes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Men range in penis size, and not everyone is. The shooters are not all gonna be shooting, right?
Damn.
So I'm just saying, like, Viagra is a thing. We got to be honest in conversation. This is where the
So
conversation.
you say accept the small penis?
No, if you are gonna marry love the person, we have to create safe spaces for him to say.
I don't even know how small penises got into this conversation.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild.
Because
Oh my
impotence,
God.
small penises, those are the type
That's
of things.
different.
Men will pretend like they're being. You guys said men will pretend like they're being pure.
You're right, because they don't want you to see it.
Yeah. No, I have dated men that I feel like in some way, not the sound effects. In some ways, feel like either they want to over test it, like they want you to touch it so that you can be okay with accepting whatever it is.
Oh,
or they are saying, hey, I don't want to do nothing with you. And they don't have that passion that you're talking about because they are hiding something. So I think the solution to that is not necessarily like you're saying, Tyshawn, to feel it or touch it up. I feel that the solution to that is to create spaces where people feel comfortable expressing those types of insecurities.
Poll. I have a poll because first of all, these Christian women in here talking about some small penis, no Lord. Right? So look, let's talk about this. Here's a poll.
Y'all wrong.
That is very wrong. Would you marry?
I
want to see. Would you marry a man of God with a small penis? I want to know that one.
But ladies,
look,
I want to know.
With their flesh, they're gonna say no.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
This is not creating a safe space, Tyshawn, for that.
No, I'm just saying, like, is it really about God or is it really about the flesh?
That's
or the length of the flesh.
And what's small?
I'm
by
just
the way,
saying.
for context, Canden, what's small?
And would they marry a man who was impotent but who could go get Viagra? That's
No. Impotent mean you can't. No,
you can't. There are some instances of impotency that can be helped and cured, aren't there?
Well,
Are there not?
I would assume if they leaving them, there's no cure.
But this is what I'll be talking about.
I don't know. I just assumption.
Hey, so ladies, talking about see now it's getting all of that. Right, ladies, small 4 inches or less.
Would you 4 inches or less?
4 inches or less.
Measure the
Would
size.
you marry a man? Because what's the average?
ladies be getting technical.
Isn't the average like 5?
I don't know what the average is.
Would you marry?
They say 6 or 7.
It isn't. It isn't.
No way, 7 is average.
Hell no.
That's not average.
In the Congo. Shit, we in.
Well, and let's just so ladies, I just dropped the poll. Would you marry a man of God that has a small penis? And just for this exercise, let's just say anything small is
4 is less.
4 or less. But
this is an amazing man. Let's not look. Listen, this is an amazing
God,
brother.
6 foot. 6 foot.
Look at these women talking about 6 is an average. That's just your.
No.
Average.
I think 5.5 or 6 is average.
But we saying 4. We saying 4. We specifically talking small here. I want to make this challenging because again, you remember that's the same conversation of choosing a short man. It's the same conversation.
For everybody, you got women who are 700 pounds and they have found a partner. You have men who are dysfunction, lost limbs. They are still getting married.
Damn.
So let's be honest about whatever. Let's say a woman is barren. Should she marry you and never tell you that? Like, let's be real. We have to have honest conversations about our sexual dysfunction
and anatomy.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're basically you are not being completely forthcoming and you're hoodwinking someone into marrying you when really you could just trust God that there's someone who would love you and still marry you.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
Shout out to Papa Ketchens, who I don't know by the way, but who has blessed me to not have this issue.
But
shout out to
TMI.
That was such a.
But
that was low level.
Go to the corner. Go to the corner, Ryan.
I just be teasing y'all. Shout out to Danica.
Like purity culture though, and this is like the Christian culture where they're like, "Hey, we want you to date a man who will never try you ever," and that's how Christian women act. They're like, "Oh, you try me one time, I'm cutting you off."
Yeah.
So the only men that are eligible are the men you just mentioned right now, who would never try them, who wait till marriage, and they tend to have some sort of issue, like. That's why I say, unless it's a miracle for God, and let's be clear, it's a miracle because it's barely ever done. Let's be very clear. That's why we consider it a miracle. So if Christianity and Christian culture is telling women, yo, the moment a man tries, you cut him off, then that means you.
Yeah, no, I don't
off
believe in that.
all
I
these
think
options,
I don't think you
right.
should cut them off.
But you cutting off all these options. So that's why shorty over here, I'm like, sweetheart, look, it's not easy, but give buddy a chance.
Unless
You
the
know what
Holy
I mean?
Spirit tells you personally too, I think you should give him a standard to meet. I think you should give that man a standard to meet, and you should separate yourself a little bit so that he give him space to meet it. Like, I feel like you should give him room to meet the standard. And sometimes women like to crowd men, like don't desire me, but I'm gonna snuggle up on under you. Like, no,
we gonna cuddle, but don't do nothing.
Yeah, like don't
Like,
you need to incentivize what you want to see in people and let them rise to the challenge of pursuing you, because men do a really good job with that. They actually will be like, you know what, I do need to get my stuff together, and I can't keep pressuring her, or I can't keep being, undisciplined in this. So I'm gonna just go hit the gym, and then we'll have our date.
And let's read the poll.
Yeah, shout out to Nashay, and shout out to Wifey. She said she got an orange badge. I love that. Shout out to Danica, and I love how you put the spelling of your name in there. I got it now, Danica. This conversation is really interesting, and I learned a lot from this. I recently been going through a quarter life crisis and trying to improve myself. Just watching y'all being helpful for me. Just watching y'all is helpful for me to improve my mindset. So she's giving y'all flowers. I appreciate y'all as well.
We appreciate you.
And I think that's all of the super chat.
What's that
we
poll?
got.
Let's close that joint.
Oh, the poll. So, there was a little light on this poll, 160 votes. Would you marry a man of God that has a small penis?
Hell of a question.
54% of people say yes.
Wow,
Really?
only 54.
Yes.
That just shows how shallow we are.
No.
I think
That's a
they
good
would.
deal.
That's a lot.
Bro,
50%. That's a
I was
good
expecting
deal.
a good
That's a
80%
good
to
deal
say
in
no.
a shallow culture, because the fact that one of two people will pass down an ideal man because of his penis being small just says a lot. That's not a.
I
That's a.
appreciate that perspective.
What?
Tyshawn.
I think that's
Sex
pretty
is
good.
important. I think 50% of that's
no.
pretty
But
good.
sex is important. You're right. But how many times have we had people up here that came up here and taught us about sex and told us that a small penis does not guarantee that you're gonna have bad sex. So a small penis does
There you
not
go.
equal bad
That's
sex.
true.
A small penis equals a shallow mind, that someone is not open to experiencing this person further because of that. That's like me saying I literally won't ever marry a wife because if she got B cups or less, I need C36s. She got everything I need, but it's B cups on her chest. So I'm done with it. That's really wild. So the thing about
Tyshawn
it
is
is
not letting y'all off the hook.
that
He
really is
said
wild.
absolutely not.
It's the same conversation. I promise you, this is identical to the conversation with the short brother. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, this is just the honest reflection of kind of where we are as a culture. And I think the Harley Initiated audience is probably even more forgiving than the rest of this world.
I would agree with
That's
that.
high for the women in this chat.
Yeah,
It
to
is.
tell you,
But
that's really
I promise you, we was able to get a wider range of this survey. Our world is a lot less shallow, which is why relationships are in the state that it's in now. And the Harley Initiated podcast is trying to save the damn world. All right. And with that being the case, I think this is probably one of the best times to wind this joint down right here.
We got another super chat. Shout out to Million. She says, how would you know if a man of God has a small member? That's a good one. Small member. If you are supposed to wait until marriage before getting physical, wouldn't he have to tell you? Like, that's a
he
good
would.
question. Like, okay,
conversation, right?
He
That's
would
something-
have to tell you.
is that
what
something you
about
talk
like
about?
going to the doctor or like, health checks? I mean, is that not
Yeah.
like a thing
I
before
have
you
a
get married?
friend who used to request. She actually required the person that she was dating to go to the doctor because he refused to go to the doctor, and she was like, "You need to go to the doctor, and that's a standard for us to get married." So I do think you can bargain for what you want. As a woman, you could be like, "Hey, let's actually get checked out," just like you do the STD checks. Like you don't have this. What's the trait where your kids come out a certain way? I don't know, but there's medical testing and things that you can do. And
Sickle cell?
I don't know that I would. It's not sickle cell, something similar though. I don't know that I would recommend you requiring it, but I do think that if it's a concern that you have, because sometimes we can tell. Sometimes you can tell from looking. Sometimes you can tell from behavior around that. I'm telling you, I've dated in the past, and the guy, it's like he wanted me to experience it so he can get, and he would indicate it by saying I was emotionally abused in my last relationship. And I ended up putting 2 and 2 together because some of the things that he was saying, and then he would try it, even though it was kind of odd because he didn't even believe in trying it. It was almost like he wanted my affirmation there. He wanted me to see it.
Like, hey, it's good.
Yes. So that we can move forward, so that he can receive the affirmation that it's okay. But there are behaviors that could indicate for someone a sexual insecurity. There are psychological behaviors that they can demonstrate to you that will tell you that they have a sexual insecurity. Lying about your shoe size is another one. I dated a person who told me his shoe size was a certain thing, and I don't even know why, because it's not like I asked him.
Is that a real correlation? Is that
a gift?
Is that
sexual, or is that
scientifically proven that the shoe size correlates directly to the size of the penis?
I don't know if it's scientifically proven, but it's culturally accepted, and I think he believed it.
Okay.
So that's just an insecure. That's like a dude lying about his height.
Yeah,
that's like a dude lying about his height.
But at that point, I wasn't as sexually disciplined as I was now, and he did have a small penis. Wow. So here's what I'm telling you: there's psychological. There was indicators before, and then it confirmed for me, like, oh, that's why. I then began to look and see all those behaviors, and I was like, oh.
Well, can I ask you?
And I wouldn't
mind.
It's
different sizes, by the way. It's the soft size and the erect size as well.
So, but here's what I want to ask you: Would you marry?
Yes. If my affections are to the degree that if I decided to fall in love with you, you could literally have anything, and my faith is set up so that I would be like, we would be fine. Okay. So actually, if he would have came to me and told me, this person I'm not dating anymore, but if he would have came to me like, this is actually an insecurity I have, and I'm like, it's kind of crazy, like I don't even really want to tell you, this is embarrassing, or whatever he would have said to me, if he felt like he was safe. I wish he felt like he was safe enough to do that, because honestly, I would not have broken up with him even if he told me. I would have just dealt with the consequences of that, and because I really did like have a lot of love for him. So I do think it's possible for you to show up authentically, exactly with your whole self, and to still be accepted and loved. But when you don't, and you end up being in deception, it still doesn't work out for you. So you should risk it all to show up as who you authentically is, even with its dysfunction, whether barrenness, whether small, no matter what size it is, impotency, all of that. Some person will be like, I feel called to love you. But if you don't believe that about yourself, you will never find it.
And there you have it, folks.
Interesting. This conversation did go a little.
Oh my gosh!
Edgy.
I think we touched every crevice of this joint here. Listen,
literally.
if y'all know how we do. If y'all feel blessed on this joint, I want y'all to drop a straight bless in the chat right now, because y'all out here. We made it. This is by far, but this is the longest live we have ever done in the history of the Hardly Initiated
3
live
hours
shows.
and 20 minutes, guys. And we
have done it, y'all.
Guys, I really want to give this book to the signed autographed copy of Canden Webb's book, and I want to give it to a member. So you got to have that orange badge. So Tyshawn, help me out. What do they need to do to get this book?
Guys, go ahead.
I'm asking you.
I'm gonna let y'all know. I need everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You need to follow our Instagram page. You need to follow our Facebook page. A lot of y'all didn't know we had a Facebook page. All right. You got to really get indoctrinated into the tribe. Obviously, you need to have a membership, and I need an email from you. I need you to email info@hardlyinitiated. The person that does all of those things, we're going to randomly select who that is, and we'll go about sending you the book.
And make sure you email us pure, and then include your YouTube handle so I can look you up to make sure you are a member. And because last time we had 60 people email us, I'm just going to choose a random number. Matter of fact, Canden, choose a random number.
And it's easy.
What's a random number? Come on.
No. Because that means that the first person automatically knows they won't get it. Meaning you can randomly just choose the order in which it came in.
That's exactly what you do. Isn't that how they do it on the radio?
Is that how it works?
Yeah, the 10th person. The 10th person. They're not gonna know what order. So the 10th person that emails us pure with your YouTube name in the email to info@hardlyinitiated is going to get a signed copy of this book. So y'all go ahead and email us.
And I'm gonna check the Facebook and those other things too. I can easily search those. So you still have to make sure you followed all those pages.
Shout out to Kathy Wood, by the way, for dropping that super chat, and shout out to E for dropping that super chat. And what's crazy in the chat, everybody is dropping blessed in the chat. Is that like the initiate's new way of signing out?
No, I told him to do that.
Oh, okay.
What man is ass, huh?
I'm DJing this joint, man. So this is good.
Yes. And listen, what I want to do before we get up out of here, y'all know we're very serious about growing the initiates. We're very serious about growing initiates. So can we please, y'all, get 5 initiates in here? And what I would also like to do is get 100 more likes, because I know there's some people in here. We still got 1,100 people in the room. Please go ahead and hit that like button. And I want 5 more initiates to come up in this joint. Y'all, I'm so excited about what it is to come, because as y'all know, y'all better tune in this Sunday. We got a phenomenal show coming out for y'all this Sunday. We imported one of my favorite dating coaches, Allison, who's going to be breaking down. I'm talking about step by step. Like, she's one of the most thorough coaches we've ever had on the show. And I promise you, I'm not gassing this young lady. She's phenomenal. She's so clear. Nothing is abstract about her message. And yeah, a lot of y'all have been asking about this long distance dating, this online dating, the dealing with dating apps. I promise you, you will not leave that episode with any question.
Oh yeah,
there was no meat on the bone.
It was no meat on the bone. We
after that joint. So
guys,
that's coming for you guys.
Don't forget to email us about this book. The emails are already coming in, guys. This is dope.
Yes.
And a couple of shows, real quick, because I want Tyshawn to close us out while we're getting some members still coming in. Shout out to Kiana Bosworth, who just signed up. The couple of shows y'all need to watch. Y'all need to watch that Dr. Spirit if y'all didn't see Dr. Spirit. Like, I think those you was telling me somebody sent you that. Yeah, they didn't even know you was getting on the show.
Didn't even know. That Dr. Spirit was fire. I watched the first 30 minutes and I was like, oh nah, I need to sit down somewhere else and watch this. Like, this is real.
Yeah.
She's the real deal.
She was deep. Like,
yeah.
She had me thinking about my life. I said, hold on, wait a minute. Like, I gotta work on some childhood stuff. Like, let me process this. Yeah, she was real.
And because of that, we actually working with Dr. Spirit to put her on one of our Sunday transformationals. Y'all know on Sunday, the episodes that we put out, that's what I just told y'all about. We're working with to get Dr. Spirit on here.
And that Tony Gaskins was crazy too.
And Tony Gas was incredible. But guess what, guys? Understand the heat, it will not stop. Not only did I tell you Allison's coming out this Sunday, next Monday, Pastor James Edwards that lit up the conversation on Soul Ties, he's bringing his wife. And them two together, I'm telling you, is absolutely insane. So that's what's going to be happening next Monday on the live show for next Monday.
We already got Tony Gaskins secure for the live.
And then next Wednesday, we got G.S. Youngblood, the author of The Masculine in a Relationship.
One of my favorite books.
Coming out.
Ever. So
when I tell y'all, it's going to be fire. Y'all do not want to miss anything that's happening. Sunday at 5 p.m. and Monday and Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. You need to get in here. My initiates, I need you to continue to send it. My initiates, y'all work so hard for us. Every guest that you tell us we need to get, we contact those people 50-11 ways. We contact their cousins, their mamas, their publishers, their PR people, their ex-girlfriends, and do everything we can to get them onto the show. So I need my initiates. First of all, join. I still need to get the 5 in here, but let us know who you need, and we're going to get them on the show. So thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Hardly Initiated. We are out.